Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Curation Live, the first Comic Book Curation Live of the year 2019. I am Polydub. And joining me, as always, the Incorrigible Inquisitor 8.1 quiz. How are you on our first episode of 2019?
Incorrigible.
Incorrigible. Excellent. Still doing what you do unapologetically. I like it.
Yes.
And rounding out our triumvirate of awesome is Jack from Bad Comic Reviews. Link in the description. Jack, how are you in 2019?
Yeah, about the same.
Yeah? That bad, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Shit. Well, you know. And as everybody can see, we have a special guest today. We're happy to have. We were trying to get him on before, but through that's Jack's fault, really. It's Jack's fault. We weren't able to get him on. So, Shady Grin, happy to have you here for the first time. How are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah?
Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you here, despite Jack's efforts to keep you away.
Yeah.
Long time lurker, but first time joining the show.
Right.
We're glad to have you, despite what Polly says.
I'm all over the place.
We have no lurkers, only fans. And doing a quick roll call, speaking of fans, over on the side, Mule 1066, always here. And I always feel bad waiting for us to get started. But, you know, Jack, with his problems and his lateness and his computer issues, it's...
Well, that's rich coming from you, Mr. Potato.
Well, you know, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. When I start Streamlabs, I always said that I was going to spend the money on comic books. It would be splitting it up amongst us. But I think I'm going to be an asshole when I start Streamlabs. I am going to keep all the money and buy a non-potato. What do you guys think of that?
I would say it's about goddamn time.
Yeah. Yeah, I would too.
I mean, my computer is several years old, but it is infinitely better than your potato.
Oh, excuse me. But you guys have an actual computer, right? Like I'm running a...
Yeah.
Jack, are you running a laptop?
Yeah, I am actually running two laptops. My good one just crashed, so I'm on my... See, where you have a potato, I have a hash brown. 'Cause it's sort of in mid-death, so... Right. But I'm actually running off of that right now.
Gotcha. No, I'm running off a laptop as well. Many years old laptop, and it's I'm asking far too much of it. I mean, I've got the backgrounds and everything set up for OBS. We could be doing an OBS thing, but which would be far more interesting for our dedicated fans and listeners to watch. But I don't think my computer can handle it, honestly.
Mr. Dax. Polly has an Irish computer.
Yeah. Produced in Ireland.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't run well. It's really drunk.
Mustafa says, about goddamn time. I've been waiting here for 3 weeks.
Polly was on vacation. You can't get too mad at him.
Yeah, it's true. I was out of town, and I missed you guys. I missed doing the streaming thing. When I came back, I was not happy to come back to Twitter. I was not happy to come back to Orange Man Bad. But I was very happy to come back to Comic Book Curation Live. Honestly, it was like this is the best part of my online experience is hanging out with y'all miscreants.
I was gonna say now. Here's the thing: we can't criticize Polly for being gone for 3 weeks. What we can criticize him for is not letting people know on Twitter.
Oh, I thought you were about to say not letting people know at all. Where if you listen to our last stream, one of the last things we're talking about is how I'm leaving like in 2 days to go on a vacation for.
Yeah, but you didn't say for how long.
I did not say for how long. I did say that I was going to make an effort to try and do it on the go, like whilst I was on my vacation, which would have been fun because I drank almost literally every day of those 2 weeks. So
we know. See, here's the thing. Little candid aside. For all of you, you don't get this this amazing gem. But one of the things that Polly did when he was on his vacation is he would leave his microphone open and go to nightclubs. It was amazing.
I was live streaming the party, man. It was it was intentional. It was a great time.
Yeah.
Well, I missed all that.
Well, that's because you have a weird fear of Discord.
Yeah,
I don't have a fear of Discord. I have an abject hatred of Discord. And a massive distrust of it as well. It's sort of like my relationship with women.
Well, that's justified.
Yeah, like I said, it's just like my relationships with women.
Right. So we get Jean is here, and Rotten Corpse is here. Mustafa's here, of course. This is Kyle, Mule 1066. Peter's here. Hey, Peter, how's it going? Mr. Dax. Oh man, so many people coming back. They didn't abandon us after 3 weeks. I mean, this is a loyal audience. I love you guys.
You really wish that shady grin shithead would leave, but
Yeah.
Whatever. It's funny.
I know, right?
No, I didn't have a face reveal. We wouldn't want people vomiting. No, when I was like live streaming the party, what I mean is I would just turn on Discord, I would turn the mic on when I was out at different clubs and bars and shit, just so the people that are in the Discord room were like hearing all the rancorous happenings. And I'm being blackmailed by a apparent dancing video that exists. I have not had it proven to me that there is in fact evidence of me drunkenly dancing in the middle of the dance floor with several.
Anyone that has
we need to get in touch with Polly's friends.
It's this one girl. She's like, you have to come back before the summer, or I'm releasing this on the internet. And I'm
awesome. Oh my god, I want to see this. Do not talk to her all summer, Polly. I want to see this as a companion piece for one of Far's videos.
Because it was like a closed door event, like it was like basically the Christmas party for this one bar, and a bunch of people that I knew in the city where I was at are all industry folks in the food and drink industry. And so they're like, do you want to go to this party? And I was like, yeah. So we Ubered over there. And so all the drinks were like cheap and half price and free. And the owner of the bar was walking around and pouring from a bottle of bourbon in everybody's glass, whether it had bourbon in it or not. And that's what made him awesome. It was it was sloppy, man. Shit got real sloppy near the end of the night. And I don't specifically remember dancing with 3 girls and 2 beers, but apparently I did. The DJ was doing his job that night. I'll give him credit, man. He had some club bangers going, and I guess I got excited.
Well, my favorite bit of that was when Fresh Prince of Bel-Air came on. He says, you see me immediately pop into chat and go, ooh, look, it's Polly's favorite.
Yeah, right. No, I was not twerking, Mr. Dax.
You say that now, but you just admitted you don't remember any of this.
No, you're the king of twerk.
Because I know myself well enough to know I don't twerk. I boogie. It's different.
Right. And there's the beers were the real whores.
That's what you call twerking. Okay, got it.
So speaking of whores, let's talk about Brie Larson.
Wow.
Damn.
She deserves it.
Well, no, she didn't bang that TSA agent. So technically, we'd have to call her a slut, because a whore will sleep with anyone. A slut will sleep with anyone but you.
No, okay.
No, Peter says, I wonder if there's footage of you fucking those girls after the party. No, I took a lift home, like Uber Lyft. You know what I mean? I distinctly remember that because I had to have somebody, how do you work this? Make this work. Here's my phone. And the next thing I knew, there was a lift waiting to take me back to where I was staying at.
Oh, yeah. I'm traveling.
With a kidney misting.
And a bathtub full of ice.
Yeah.
I wasn't in Thailand. What the hell? I didn't.
Hey, don't you badmouth my sexy Thailand.
I love
Jack loves his lady boys.
That's right. Stole my joke, man. I was about to say, yeah.
No, you can check the gear first so you can select.
So I wanted to talk about Brie Larson right off the bat because haha, that's why. I'm not a fan of Brie Larson, in case you didn't know. Why does Brie Larson bug me? Because first of all, she pretends to be a comic book fan. And that's fine if you're not. Like, you don't have to be, if you're an actor playing a comic book character in a film, you don't have to be a fan of comic books. That's neither here nor there. It's when you pretend to be and you so obviously are not. It just comes across as fake as fuck. And that's Brie Larson talking about, of course Captain Marvel can lift Thor's hammer. Yeah, I know things. Like, it's just
I say, speaking on that, that's the reason why I respect Margot Robbie even more. She admitted that she had never read any of the comics, but she did when she got the role to play Harley. And then she said that she got really into it and is now reading comics because of that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the need for a butt double for Brie Larson, shall we? Let me just bring up the article to which I'm referring. There's actually several if you look around for it. For those of you who don't know, Brie Larson is playing Captain Marvel in the upcoming overhyped Marvel film of the same name. And is Marvel hiring a butt double for Brie Larson? Oh, shit, I spelled her name wrong in the tweet. Yeah, who gives a fuck? Okay, anyway, I spelled it Bree, but I really don't care. She's cheesy. Get it? See what I did?
Like a cheese. She's kind of aged.
Yeah. In one of the oddest and most humorous stories of the week, Marvel Studios is searching for a what?
The way you rapid read that, it almost sounded like you said in one of the oddest ways. Well, okay, I'll roll with that.
In one of the oddest and humorous stories of the week. See, slow down, right?
Yeah.
Marvel Studios is searching for a butt double for reshoots of the Avengers 4 due out next year. Disney is scheduled to begin a series of reshoots over the coming weeks as it prepares for a lengthy post-production. In a Georgia Central Casting Facebook page, CGC, ad, they call for additional photography and a, quote, butt double, presumably for Brie Larson, who is set to play Captain Marvel in the latest film. The casting call states as follows, and here it is great. Feature film. Mary Lou is the code name that they're producing the film under. Body/butt double. Working multiple dates starting September. Location, Fayetteville, Georgia. The rate is $125/10. What does that mean? $125 for 10 hours? Like per hour?
Minimum of 10 hours.
Okay. Central Casting is looking for a body double to work this exciting project. Filming will likely begin in early September. You should have a flexible schedule and ability to work multiple days a week through October. An interview and fitting will be required within the next 2 weeks. Filming will this is casting couch sounding. I'm going to say it.
It does. Yeah, it does sound like it.
Filming will mostly take place in Fayetteville and the greater Atlanta area. Experience is preferred.
Experience using your butt is preferred.
Yes, you must fit these size requirements. Woman, number 1, looking for a woman who appears to be Caucasian. So racist. 20 to 30. Height, 5'4", bust 32B, weight, waist, dress 0 to 4, hair color blonde. Sounding like anyone you know. Submit if you fit this. Only submit if you fit this description, and allow the following carefully. You will not be considered to submit email. You must include 1, a headshot.
I believe that's called a facial in the industry.
I know. It's like how many Disney IG models are out there going, okay. So you must submit a headshot. Number 2, a full body shot of your front side, head to toe. And 3, a full body shot of your backside wearing all black leggings or yoga pants must be form-fitting. You need a butt double. I get it. But here's the part that will make everyone laugh. Now, why would they need a butt double for Brie Larson?
No. What's making me laugh is they need a butt double. If they didn't hire her for looks, why the?
Well, they hired her for her plain Jane, pretty quote unquote blonde face. Like she's pretty in an extremely generic way. I'm not gonna say she's ugly. She's not. Brie Larson's a pretty girl, but it's like it's a very plain Jane, generic pretty. If you ask me, that's just my opinion.
Crap. There's a crater back there.
Yeah,
know, right?
It is actually
it's concave.
Yeah,
it's like soccer mom ass right there.
But somebody put up the author of this in societyreviews.com is where I'm reading this. It's like now, in the act of fairness and accuracy, we have to state that the call doesn't directly say that the body double will be for Brie Larson, as it could be for Scarlett Johansson, who plays Black Widow as well. But while we're still in speculation, we will speculate, right? And it's like, yeah, it really looks like she needs she's not filling out any of that. Like you see all the the fabric here that were a woman of more corn-fed proportions would like have this material out. You understand what I'm saying?
To be fair, that costume is not flattering at all for anyone's body.
Right.
But if they had wanted Scarlett Johansson's butt double, they would have requested someone with thunder thighs too.
Well, let's talk about Scarlett Johansson's butt for a moment, shall we?
Yeah, why?
Why?
I'll bet it's hairy.
So I think it's hairy. So like It's the same damn article, right? And it actually puts the original text and everything for the film Mary Lou, as you can see that we just read. And they put a picture of Scarlett Johansson up here, and they're like, it could be a butt double for Scarlett Johansson. And you look at her butt here, and you think, well, why would ScarJo or Scarlett Johansson job possibly? I mean, look at that curvature. My God, because her butt don't look like that, y'all. Her butt looks like that. Okay, and this is with digital help when she's got her hips cocked. Now, do you like? I mean, there she is, and I still think that that's digital help, and of course her hips are cocked. Where Brie Larson was standing upright, she wasn't trying to accentuate anything. She was just, And this is a much more flattering outfit, of course. Going back to the previous thing, now you see that butt? See that butt? That's not the same butt.
No, it's not.
You see what I'm saying?
That's a Photoshop butt.
Yeah, this is a hardcore Photoshop butt. So it's like, yeah, could it be for Scarlett Johansson? Yeah.
I don't know. Mr. Dax, person of badonkadonk.
Now, what kills me about this is that, Quiz, you mentioned before we went live, you got Brie Larson, and I find her to be very obnoxious.
They did state that the double needed to be blonde.
Yeah, but Scarlett Johansson's blonde now as Black Widow, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So
for reasons that are unexplainable.
Yeah, but she's peroxide blonde. It's not like Brie Larson actually has blonde hair.
Well, in that picture right there, she's definitely frosting those tips.
Yeah.
Frosting the tips. I see what you did there.
Okay. Yeah, code for facial.
Well, you don't have to be so crude about it, Jack. Entendra's there for a reason, my friend.
No subtlety. I want a whore. I mean, I just think there needs to be more honesty in the advertising.
Well, it's like, okay, so Quiz, you were mentioning that she is Miss Social Justice, and she absolutely is. She's like, the whammons Brie Larson is, and she's quick to jump on any little thing. Where if you read through her social media posts, like it's vapid, it's empty. She thinks she's new Hollywood royalty. The way she talks about herself, the pictures she posts of herself on Instagram are always like model-esque pictures. And she's saying, here I am just getting a smoothie down the street. And it's like, obviously you've gotten your makeup done. You're wearing designer clothes from head to toe. You got your Prada bag laying across your lap. You're posed. The lighting is perfect. There's even a fucking lens flare off of the sun. Like, don't tell me somebody just snapped that picture with their phone, bitch. Pardon my language, but like, Jesus Christ. It's
you don't know her friends aren't all photographers. I'm just saying.
I realize I'm sounding angry, but we're like it's 2019. It's current year, for God's sake. It's
no. I'm not sounding angry at all about this sort of thing. I have one thing, and I have one feeling, and one feeling only for those kinds of vapid people: contempt.
Contempt. It's just, it is 2019. Audiences and people are a lot more savvy to how pictures end up looking the way that they do. And when, like, on a move, this is from a poster, Scarlett Johansson here. So it's like, whatever. Like, to me, it's neither here nor there. You did some digital alteration, whatever. It's for a movie poster. But you got Brie Larson sending out pictures that are supposed to be impromptu selfies and photography. And it's phony as fuck, much like her personality, and that just bugs me. It's, come on.
But you know what's not phony? My Streamlabs, which I'm just putting in the chat now again. I can't check it actually right now because I'm on my hash brown, but any donations appreciated.
It's not phony? You mean the money isn't going to Al Qaeda anymore?
Fuck them. I'm too greedy for that shit.
Anymore.
Or not giving any money to some stranger in the middle of nowhere. Fuck you and your desert hut living. It's like a beach with no payoff.
I'll ask for the dumb people in back. What does contempt mean?
Contempt is feelings of anger and discomfort and dissatisfaction, loathing, just in general and all purpose. But mine is specifically for the vapid, empty, and postulating, the moral postulators.
Yeah.
Yes, disdain, as Mike said in the chat.
Disdain, yes. That's
Here we go.
For somebody to have the opposite of good regards.
Sums up what Quiz is trying to say. The feeling that a person or thing is beneath consideration, worthless, or deserving scorn.
Yes.
Yeah, like Canadians.
Well, you ain't wrong.
Is that out loud again? Just kidding, Canadian viewers. We love you.
And Jack's contributions to his Streamlabs from Canada dropped to 0. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's about on par with all the other ones.
We wouldn't want Canada to be the outlier. Everybody should be given 0. So yeah, Brie Larson's got a flat ass. So does Scarlett Johansson. I don't know. Did you guys ever see the what do you call it? The fappening pictures of Scarlett Johansson that got pulled off her iPhone?
Yeah, I actually like those better than Jennifer Lawrence's, but I don't particularly find either one of them all that attractive.
I find Jennifer Lawrence is another one that the only expression that she can manage to bring to the forefront of her mug is mild disinterest, and because of that, she does nothing for me. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's just like a self-serving sociopath. Yeah,
but in a like
who, Scarlett Johansson or
no, Jennifer Lawrence?
Oh yeah,
J-Law.
But
I don't know if she's a sociopath, but she's self-serving.
No, but she has that look. Like if you were murdered on the street, she'd just stand there and maybe step over your dead body to get across the street.
Yeah.
She just seems very self-interested.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But you know,
who in Hollywood isn't these days?
Yeah.
Oh, very true. But she's like she's not even that good looking for as arrogant as she seems to be. So she's like a 5 that thinks she's a 9.
Yeah.
But honestly, if I had to choose one of the 3 ladies we've been talking about, I would probably bang Brie Larson. Not that I'm ever going to get a chance with any of these chicks, but Jennifer Lawrence seems like she may have been around the casting couch a little much. And Scarlett Johansson just really doesn't do it for me. I understand why people like her. It's just she doesn't really do anything for me. But Brie Larson, she looks like the soccer mom that would be doing amateur night at the strip joint, you know? That's an attainable that would agree with my sensibilities. And she probably does butt stuff.
So Rotten Corpse says, seems like most white actresses have flat asses. You know what? It's
You're trying to get me to break with that butt stuff. Stop it.
If you go on Instagram and you just like look at girls and girls and girls, it's like there's black girls, Latina girls, white girls, and they've all got asses. And that's all they've got. You understand what I'm saying? It's like they can't act even a little bit. Not that Scarlett Johansson is pulling off anything that Oscar worthy. Not that Oscars are really worth that much in terms of the, you know, it's just she can actually remember lines on a script. You know, she's capable. She's competent as an actress. You get IG models. Like, I don't know. Haven't you ever watched porn? Like, there you go. Super hot girls with great asses, and they have to act simple little scenes, and it's wooden as fuck. You know what I mean? Like it's and it took them all. Yeah, and it took them all day just to remember those few lines. Porn actresses, but they're hot as hell. So it's like, yeah, it's tough to find a stellar body on a woman that can also have the capability of acting. Like it's, let's stop beating up on the whammons. Don't tell me that Chris Evans' pecs weren't enhanced for Captain America: The First Avenger. That guy's got straight up moobs. That feller needs a bra. Like.
Not just his pecs, but for Infinity War, he had a fake beard, which is insulting to me.
Yeah, and that hairline is so fake.
Okay, his hairline is fake. Everybody knows that he got like whatever. Guy, we're turning into People magazine. What are we doing here?
We're ragging on people with way more money than we'll ever see in our lifetime.
Right?
I just realized I'm okay with that. Bring their egos down a peg. Fuck them.
Oh, right, because Chris Evans is
they're watching. Of course they're watching us, Polly. We're the most popular comic book show on the face of YouTube.
You know who could stand to knock down a peg or two and to lose some hair? Mark Ruffalo, because he's a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Had to bring it up in the stream.
Mark Ruffalo did get knocked down a peg, and yeah, we should bring him up. It's current year. It's the gift that keeps giving.
We haven't talked about it all year, Quiz.
I know, right? God.
You know, well, okay, hold on. Here's the thing. Rotten Corpse says I like Kate Beckinsale, but she doesn't have much of a booty. I don't understand this idea that a girl, like, hey, listen.
I think she looks just fine. I would touch every inch of her.
I hear you, Rotten Corpse. Kate Beckinsale's fucking hot as hell. It's not every woman has to have an absolute bubble butt. Like, what about the thin little gymnast figures? Like, they're fucking gorgeous women. Like that athletic body look. That's not a bubble butt, but it's hot as hell.
Gymnasts.
So I have a rule I have to
Damn,
follow.
Jack, Jesus, keep it not lecherous. Jesus.
They can't have the body that can be confused with a freaking teenage boys.
Yeah, with a child. Yeah.
It's just bizarre to me. And
I don't know
why
why
would
you're
you
ruling
not
out
want to
the-
look feminine?
Why are you ruling out all the Asians here, man?
Not all the Asians, no.
Well, you know what's funny actually. When the
And
big
Beckinsale is gorgeous, Peter.
Yes.
the big hot topic for a long time on Twitter and every other place was what was it? Mines. It was either Mines or Gab or something like that. It was banning lolly. I actually, because of that whole thing, I actually went and looked up the legality of drawn, essentially child porn. The reason why so many other countries, believe it or not, America is not one of them, but the other countries that ban that sort of thing is because, and they also ban pornography with a woman who doesn't have, at the very least, a C cup. And the reason why they do that is because they could be easily mistaken for a child. It's weird.
Yeah, there's some really tricky international laws on that. You don't want to get caught in a lot of those countries, especially in like Southeast Asia. Oh my God, you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like if the weird diseases don't kill you, the prison guards will, or they just have straight up execution laws.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, that's that was a really weird thing. I mean, I've never heard of the sort of thing that's like punishing someone who just looks different, even though they're they're definitely over 18. You know, if you're a woman who's not well endowed, you know, you can't do porn in those countries. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind an athletic build, and I don't mind small breasts. But if you've got nothing going on in the front and the back, and you look like a teenage boy physically, sorry, it just doesn't cut it for me.
Yeah, it just means that you're not going to go for it. That's fine.
That just makes you Hillary Swank. But at least she can act.
Yeah.
Boys Don't Cry was a fucking phenomenal movie. $1 Million Baby was great. Yeah. So she can at least act. Unlike some of these other people. Like put Hillary Swank in a movie instead of Jennifer Lawrence. I would much rather go see that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like how you're blaming me for this, Hate Camel. I leave to get something to eat and I come back to Asian porn laws. What the hell did Jack do?
To be fair, if anyone were to be
I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying.
No, you know what? Ryan Walter says, welcome to TMZ. Yeah, I mean, come on. We're talking about butts and we're talking about Asian porn laws and we're talking about, like, Jesus Christ, people. Let's move on to something.
We're just talking about
comics.
Yeah, it is
we were
comics.
actually discussing how these things are all better than Brie Larson's flat ass. And she's in Captain Marvel, which is a comic book movie. It all circles back.
Well, I was the one who brought up Brie Larson. I understand the connection. I'm just saying. So let's talk about something that is definitely comic books related. Spider-Man: Far From Home, the trailer. You all have watched it except for Quiz, who's bitter, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Tickle that like button.
I've heard Polly listening to it. I take issue with the fact that they use the remote in the trailer.
Oh God, your hate is pure and condensed. It's like granulated sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Your hate is pure and condensed. Yes, the hate is strong with him. It's true.
There's so much bound into a little package.
Yes.
I mean,
well, okay. So what bugs me about this? Like, okay, so they're off to Europe for their adventure. I won't spoil. Well, there's no spoilers. It's just like a teaser trailer. It really bugs me, the whole Zendaya thing with MJ. I mean, I know Zendaya. I know we've talked about it before, but like, she just really bugs me, man. She gets on my fucking nerves because it's like, you're not MJ, but yet everyone keeps calling you MJ, but you're not supposed to be Mary Jane. You're supposed to be like Maria Juarez or whatever the fuck her name is. Like, what does MJ stand for? I forget. In Homecoming. Yeah, who cares? Good point.
Social justice nonsense. That's what her name stands for.
Well, did you see in the trailer where she's like, Peter's like, you're really pretty, and she says, so therefore I have value.
Yes, that's exactly how it works. If you're not pretty, we don't value you. You already have a tiny girl brain.
Good God, Jack. Okay, so
They want to start that crap. We need to actually start mocking them more.
Well, no, but here's my theory, though. I in watching it, I thought, oh, Jesus, they're just running to the end with this bitch, right? Like, she's a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. But
right.
like, she turns into a joke in the trailer, right? Where she goes, "Oh, I'm just kidding with you," and he goes, "Oh, okay." She goes, "Well, you're really pretty too," because it's like she's completely socially inept. And I'm like, is this not the perfect portrayal of a social justice warrior, angry woman? Has no idea how to interact with men, is totally interested in like flirting back and having normal human romantic encounters with people that they're sexually attracted to, but they have no idea how to do it. And the only thing they're capable of responding is anger. I mean, they want representation. Fuck, there it is. It's perfect.
Yeah. But she needs to be uglier, fatter, and have a bunch of cats and dyed pink hair.
Well, no, that's later on in her life when she doesn't get Peter.
Oh yeah, the sad lonely.
Right.
And that's right.
My
bad.
I liked a lot of the scenes. I like that they took what's her name, Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, and they made her. They really had her looking like old, because that was like kind of like a joke a lot of people had said about Marissa Tomei playing Aunt May up in
Homecoming or
Civil
War.
In some more
Civil War.
Yeah, in Civil War. Thank you. I was thinking,
some more? What?
I thought you were saying there's some more. I'm like, no, there's only 2 Spider-Man films.
Well, she is an aging Italian woman for one, so age will not be kind. But I think she still looks pretty hot. Probably because I'm almost her age.
Are you saying Italian women don't age well?
Have you been to Italy?
I have not.
If you go and you leave the cities and get out in the countryside where there's a lot of old people, you will see some of the wrinkliest people you've ever seen. They all have mustaches, so you can't tell gender.
Really? So it's like a non-binary heaven? Lots of hair, mustaches, can't tell who's what.
More like a sketch from SNL with Pat.
What?
Is it a boy? Is it a girl? It's Pat. You never seen those?
Oh, not Pat.
No.
The androgynous.
It's time for androgyny.
Oh, I feel really old now. It's kind of a 90s thing, but they did a movie. It's Pat.
Mm-hmm. They made a movie called It's Pat?
Yeah.
They actually did?
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
I don't want to say you missed it per se.
Yeah, no.
Hold on, let me
that whole sketch is just one joke, and always had been. But it's like
it's
Saturday Night Live. Everything they do is like a one-trick pony.
The comedy that proves love is a many-gendered thing. It's Pat.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. There's Pat.
Oh, hold on.
Is it male? Is it female? It's Pat.
You just don't know. And they ran that joke into the ground and then made a movie out of it, just like they did with like Night at the Roxbury and
with every single joke.
Yeah. Even Stuart Smalley had his own movie.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And what was the one that they did? What was it? Oh God, I think you should do it in the butt. Him.
Oh, the Love Advisor guy.
Yeah, I can't remember his name now. Shit.
Oh, shoot. I forget too, but I know.
Well, you guys are thinking about it. We'll just get back to comic books here. So Spider-Man: Homecoming, Far From Home. In the trailer, Aunt May in Civil War was looking like Marissa Tomei, milfing it up, hot as fuck, right?
Yeah.
And then in Homecoming, they kind of like, it's like they listened to the audience or something, because they had her like granny glasses down on the tip of her nose and it grayed out her hair a little bit. It's like, let's make her look a little bit older. But in this trailer, Far From Home, she's back to being milfing ass, hot as fuck Marissa Tomei, which I'm very happy to see.
Hamill and Rotten Courts both said the ladies' man, and yep, that's where it was.
Okay.
Leon Phelps, the ladies' man.
So the story is basically Peter goes over to Europe on a trip with his friends, and he takes his fat Asian buddy and Zendaya with him. And I'm very angry that she's even in this film, because I don't know.
Okay, what are you saying? Black women can't go on trips to Europe?
Zendaya ain't black. That's a black
She's half
woman.
black.
Whatever.
Who is this?
This is Laura Harrier, and she's all hot. She
Yeah.
ain't half nothing. That's
Well,
Laura
she's half
Harrier
naked
played.
there, but
She's got little shorts on and a
Wearing-
bustier. That's not half naked.
She's wearing too much.
How old is she, Polly?
She's 29.
Seriously?
She's kind of old. I can hear her eggs drying up as we speak.
Oh my God, Jack.
Damn, Jack.
That factory has an age limit on it.
Wow. That you're looking at a woman like that. And I've got one guy saying, oh my God, she's underage. I got another guy saying her eggs are drying up. You guys need to come to some sort of a consensus on this. Look, this is Laura Harrier, who played Liz in Spider-Man Homecoming. And I'm not going to lie, I'm crushing on her pretty big. She's hot as fuck.
Yeah, I'd have fun with her, but
look at that smile, man. Are you fucking crazy? That'll melt your heart right there. And they got Zendaya, who replaced her. Are you fucking kidding me? Peter Parker's love interest is not this gorgeous creature, but Zendaya. Fuck off. That's a stupid
well, you
movie.
know,
her name being Zendaya makes her infinitely more exotic, Polly.
yeah, because she isn't just MJ, she's Zendaya.
I'm just saying it's Laura Harrier all day, every day. And okay, I get it. She's supposed to be Adrian Toomes' daughter, like the Vulture's daughter. So it's, you know, Adrian Toomes like kind of comes to the end that he does at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming. And so Liz leaves town with her mom because it's like, oh, we found out our father's a supervillain. We need to leave town and so on. Well, they could have written her back in if they shoehorned in fucking Zendaya to be MJ, fake ass MJ,
No.
but not. Why couldn't they just write Laura Harrier back into this list? She moved back on her
Liz
own.
wasn't woke enough.
It wasn't.
Her dad is an evil whitey.
Nah, that's true.
Can't have that. He's an evil straight white male. And
Yeah.
that is the worst kind of man to be. So thankfully, Zendaya doesn't have that as her part of her story. So she is much more woke. She probably wears a pink pussy hat in this. So
Chaos is like, Polly likes him skinny and black, noted. She is willowy. It's different. She's not skinny. She's,
willowy?
Yes.
That's a creepy statement. I don't like that.
That's what they call that body type, willowy.
I've never heard that before.
If you're an unattractive dude, they call you lanky. If you're an attractive woman, they call you willowy.
I've never heard that. That's creepy. It makes
Yeah,
me
I'm with
think
Jack
that.
on this one. I've never heard that. I wouldn't go so far as to call it creepy, but it's just weird.
No, it makes me think of that chick from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the redhead. That played
You're
Willow.
watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer as a grown man. Now that's fucking creepy.
No, what's creepy would be having a lunchbox for that, which thankfully I do not. But I might
Sounds
get one for my
oddly
panel
specific.
band.
Jesus, you know, we take fucking 3 weeks off. We come back and we forget how to talk about comics. It's just,
Yeah, like this is different for us. What are you talking about?
well, yeah. Chaos says, I love Buffy. It's fine. You're a woman. You can love Buffy all you want. We're talking about a grown man and Jack. Remember that one episode
I
of
can
Buffy
respect Buffy as a Slayer. She was a very strong, independent character that actually was a strong, independent female character.
You
I
know
like
that?
the movie.
Jack,
What?
you know that's Gabby Rivera's favorite TV show of all time, right?
Well, she's allowed to have one good trait. And I didn't particularly like the show most of the time, but it did have some really good episodes, like Hush, the silent episode. That was actually a really good episode. And I liked Sarah Michelle Gellar. I may have been crushing on her a little bit.
Frosted Glass says, willowy, adjective, like Willow from the awesome show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Touche,
Chaos,
sir.
you are absolutely wrong. The movie was great.
Yeah, I liked the movie. Luke Perry was hilarious in that.
Yeah, Luke Perry, fucking Paul Rubens.
And who was the chick that played Buffy? She's been in other stuff too. Yeah, Paul
Yeah.
Rubens was great in that too. Where he
Yeah.
was the ruler.
It was like,
All right,
I can do anything you can do. Oh yeah, clap.
I'm exerting executive privilege here. We cannot talk about Buffy anymore. It's done. So
Why?
moving on.
I'm talking about the movie.
Polly hates it.
It's Buffy writ large. No.
Polly just hates fun. I get it.
Polly hates Sarah Michelle Gellar because she's hot.
You know, it is. Buffy is more
Christy
related to
Swanson.
comic books than Jennifer Lawrence ever thought about being, because Joss Whedon had written several comic books.
Yeah,
And he
menstrual
wrote Buffy the
cramps when
Vampire Slayer.
vampires were around. At least that's a use for menstrual cramps.
All right, let's see what our favorite shills over at CBR are up to this week. And what are they up to this week, you might ask? Promoting comics they're told to promote.
Yeah.
And the only reason I bring this up, this particular article over at CBR, is because it's the buy pile, which is their shill pile. Let's be blunt. You know what I mean? It's Domino and Squirrel Girl lead a week of comic. If that's the week of comics, then yeah, the industry
Why
really
does
is
that
collapsing.
look like a screenshot from Frozen?
That's a good call, actually.
Yeah, look at those creeper eyes on long shot. I mean, is that he look well? First of all, his haircut makes him look a little K-pop boy band.
And look at the guy that they got for this. It's like I don't even know who this guy is, but he hits all the check marks. Hannibal Taboo. He's like
that's not a real name, is it?
Hannibal Taboo. Yeah, Taboo. I would assume. Tomorrow starts here. Hannibal Taboo is an award-winning writer, futurist, brother, DJ, father, journalist, designer, pundit, husband, poet, vocalist, son, karaoke host, jerk, digital project manager based in California, Los Angeles. Yeah.
I think you pronounced that wrong. It's not brother. It's brother.
Yes.
You gotta make a fist and hold it up.
And like I just kind of like read this guy's like stuff, and it's he's a
futurist is not a job.
No, futurist is not a job. When people claim to do that, it's like you take guesses about what's going to happen in the future.
It's like life coach.
Right?
It sounds like a guy who can't hold down a job.
Yes, exactly. I need a title to look good on my resume.
Yeah. So
let's put all of the above.
And he won the award for the Los Angeles Department of Cultural Affairs Cultural Trailblazer Award. Like, in other words, like fake awards you smother on all the right people to signal virtue.
Yeah, exactly.
It's anyway, so he runs every week. Hannibal Taboo, winner of the 2012 Top Cow Talent Hunt, and blah 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 blah. Jackass on Twitter. I have no trouble believing that, even though I've never read a single tweet of his. He's also a trailblazer, blogger, novelist, and poet. Just to give you an example,
poet is not a job either.
No. And the buy pile is their shill pile. Okay. Just to give you an example of the kind of shill work that they're doing here. And that's the reason I bring this up is Domino number 10. I've read it. It's middling. Like, it's not that it's bad. It's just, I'm kind of indifferent on it. It's just like, it is what it is. It's the further story of Domino. Nothing really all that exciting happens, but listen to Hannibal Taboo's description of it. Jump from the reed pile. Domino has a dilemma. Save the extra dimensional probability based fighter long shot or save the world. She goes a long way to address this choice alongside a super strong Texan mutant, a snake-themed former terrorist, and a Wakandan exile with a bear fetish. Summing up everything you need to know, this Gail Simone script twists and turns and banks and pulls your emotions along, deftly balancing the anti-heroic characterization of the plot driving with a fanatic, vibrant visual from David Batalon. Like, it's a rating, buy. Like, and did they pay for your hotel room or not? Did they, what other financial...
That sounds like a paid pitch.
No shit. Like, you haven't even said what you like. You just said, I like. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just...
I think I know what happened here is during grammar check, somebody did a find and replace with the word shit for the word buy. Because you're more apt to find a shit pile than something called a buy pile. Usually you have a buy stack because you want your comics in good shape, whereas a pile indicates it's a sloppy mess.
Oh,
just throwing that out there.
All of Marvel, this
is, I mean,
shut your whore mouth, mister.
It's the 90s.
It's an ongoing drum that I beat here on Comic Book Curation Live that of activating media assets and paid media assets. This is an example of that. Marvel Comics, DC Comics, film studios, production studios, politicians, they all have friends, assets in media where they can contact one person because they need a positive article written on something, right? And this is what I'm talking about. Like, it's Domino number 10. Like I said, it's not bad, but this person just described it like it's the greatest fucking thing that ever happened. It's an onslaught of positive adjectives, this little paragraph of his, and you don't even know anything about what happened other than here's the 3 characters that are in it. That's it. I mean, this is not a review, and yes, it's a very strong buy recommendation, but based on what? This is just shillery in its worst.
Okay, she goes a long way to address this choice, a long way to address this choice. The choice being save the world or long shot. With a super strong Texan mutant, a snake-themed former terrorist, and a Wakandan exile with a bear fetish. Summing up everything you need to know. What? You cannot say summing up everything you need to know because there's a lot more that I need to know.
Yeah. And to mention Gail Simone outright, where Gail Simone is like, she's very pro POC LGBT LMNOP. Like that's who Gail Simone is. She's got this huge presence on Twitter, as does our friend Hannibal Taboo here. And it's just mutual support network and shillery in action. This is why Comicsgate is well named after Gamergate in terms of collusion between producers and media. Do you know what I'm talking about? Which will lead into a story that I'm talking about later. Because
are we going to talk about oh fuck, what's her name?
Goddess Mode, Zoe Quinn.
Zoe Quinn.
Yes, we are, sir.
Did we ever finish talking about the Homecoming trailer?
We're kind of finished with it. Did you want to revisit it?
No, I was just because nobody said anything about Glycosol as Mysterio.
You know what?
Oh yeah.
I think the costume looks really cool.
So do I.
Yeah. But him as an actor, I to be honest, I was actually rooting for what's his name's pick. The original trilogy. They had they were building up Campbell.
Oh, Bruce Campbell?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Bruce Campbell's too old, unfortunately.
Yeah, but he's a better actor. Let's be honest.
Yeah, so, don't get me wrong. Bruce Campbell's amazing. Everything he does is gold. But yeah, I don't think that he could be in an action movie nowadays.
There we go. I just popped.
I would have liked to have seen Sam Raimi's take on that, though.
Yes. Say what you want about Sam Raimi's trilogy. I think those Spider-Man movies are infinitely better than anything I've seen from Homecoming or Civil War. Just saying.
Well, see, I'm a little biased because that Amazing Spider-Man with that Garfield retard, those movies were significantly worse than the newer ones, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, like, I'd rather watch Homecoming and Far From Home over the Andrew Garfield, I think his name is, movies, because he was just a horrible Spider-Man.
Cocaine Spider-Man.
Yeah, he was like, it was like somebody gave cocaine to a special needs kid and let him loose in a Spider-Man costume and just followed him with a video camera. But I'm mean today. I'm sorry.
Well, do you want to field that question from This Is Kyle? That actually might be a fairly good discussion.
Okay. Anyone think that mangas will grow in popularity in the West due to the lowering standards of popular comics, or do you think that people will just switch to alternate comic companies? I don't know, Jack. What do you think? You're a weeb.
I'm not a weeb.
You're a appreciator of the Asian feminine form.
Weeb adjacent.
Having been in bookstores, not necessarily comic shops, because they're few and far between here. And Barnes and Noble's the only bookstore that's around. Anyway, the amount of comics versus the amount of manga, yeah, I think they're pushing in hard.
Well, here's the major difference, right? Manga is the way that they sell manga is in very, very small book formats. It's like no more than like 3 to 4 inches wide and maybe 6 inches tall.
True.
And they band together like 4 or 5 volumes together in one actual book rather than like, a floppy comic book issue. Most places you'll go to, like for large bookstores, they'll have like a manga section of maybe 2 or 3 bookshelves packed to the brim of nothing but manga. But they'll have the equivalent, if not more, space set aside for graphic novel collections of comic books. Now, the problem is that the price point is definitely there for manga, but manga is extremely niche. Whereas comic books have things like the movies, which is a mainstay that gets a lot of people talking about comics. that manga just doesn't have. Now we've got movies like Battle Angel Alita coming out fairly soon, which if you've not read the manga or seen the anime for that, I highly recommend it. It's really, really good. But at the same time, it's still niche. You're not going to grab Joe Average moviegoer with Battle Angel Alita and get him to go out and buy a manga.
I have to, well, you manage to grab Joe Average movie reader and get him interested in the format, not necessarily get him to buy it, but I think it's slowly growing in attention as to like the mainstream attention.
Yeah,
Battle Angel Alita, just looking at the quality of the trailers, I can say confidently that it's starting to gain a lot of mainstream attention, more so than maybe weebs and other diehard fans want it to.
Yeah.
Okay, little history lesson as the old man in the room. When anime and manga really started catching on in the 80s in the US, it was incredibly niche. Like, you had to get bootlegs of any anime that you wanted to see. Very few were broadcast on TV. And if you wanted to get a manga, that you had to wait till the reprints came in through like Viz Media, did most of them. And they would take a manga and knock it down into single issues, and it would be 4 or 5 issues for one book, sometimes more. And a lot of that was actually due to Gerard Jones bringing like Dragon Ball Z over. He was really the big influencer in that. Too bad he turned out to be a child porn enthusiast, but he recently convicted. But that used to be so hardcore niche that if you wanted to get any of those books, you had to go to a big city in a specialty store that got imports, which was nowhere near at the average comic shop. Well, most comic shops didn't carry that shit.
Let's put it this way. You didn't necessarily need to go into the big city to a niche store. You just need to go to Chinatown.
Most cities don't really have that big of a Chinatown. Like, I live in the 15th biggest city in the country, and we don't have a Chinatown.
I think it would be a port city you'd need to go to, because that's where these kind of people they gather mostly.
Chicago has a Chinatown, and that's where I found all of Dragon Ball Z on bootleg Chinese VHSs long before it actually came to Adult Swim.
Wow. Yeah. Well, as things have gotten further along, like when I was running my comic shop about 12 years ago, I had a small section of manga, and we had a couple of loyal customers that would come in for those, but we really didn't sell that many. They were usually, honestly, teenage girls that bought them, and they'd buy these like dude-on-dude gay romance books, which were really weird because they didn't really have sex most of the time.
Yeah,
it was just
yaoi
like
books.
Yeah, what's the word for it? There's a term for that genre, which I don't understand, but yeah, and
there's also girl on girl one too called Yuri.
No one ever asked for those.
No one ever asked for Yuri. Everyone always asked for yaoi. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I had to learn all this because I'm like, you want what? What the hell am I ordering? But they're like $10 a piece. But now, I mean, there's a lot more like that Goblin Slayer one, which is pretty graphic apparently, and all these others that people actually talk about. And it's mostly younger people that are talking about manga. And they know what the animes are. They know what it's based on. But you'll see actual young people going in and picking up manga from Tokyo Pop or one of the other big lines, and they'll go up and ask for them at bookstores. Barnes & Noble has a very large section of mangas, and it's shocking because you'll see people in those aisles. It's right next to the comic books. There's a bunch of middle-aged dudes looking at comic books and graphic novels. The young people are looking at manga.
Yep.
I think Capaldi's bored.
Yeah, I'm just showing pictures of Laura Harrier while you guys are talking about manga.
Sorry. Yeah, I think manga is that format is the future.
Yeah,
I do.
And that's the thing is that there are even American comic book creators that are doing the manga style. You know that we were talking about him before with fucking Buffy. Oh shit, what's his name? Whedon, Joss Whedon, actually wrote an X-Men manga.
Yeah, they've had there was a whole line of Marvel ones for a while, but now if people were smart, they'd be paying attention to how Alterna's doing their graphic novels, because they're doing them in a shorter size than the regular comic books, and they're $10 to $12.
Yeah,
and that's a lot more in line with what the mangas are. It's much more accessible, and they're in this more compact format, and they're on nice paper. Whereas you look at a Marvel trade paperback, which collects 6 issues more than the 3 to 5 that Alterna does, and they're $30, sometimes more.
Yep.
That's not accessible to younger readers, which I know I bring that up a lot because we need to replace the aging demographic.
Yeah.
But I am hesitant to drop $30 or $40 on a graphic novel, even if I know it's good, because I don't want to spend money.
It's why I was kind of more.
Yeah.
I like your guys' show. This is why, because I get a better review rather than the one size fits all remarks on the back of a comic book.
Yeah.
Like New York Times bestseller, which is every book under the sun.
Yeah, the standards are lower because they've knocked it out into like categories now. Hey, Gutenberg.
So I got everybody bugging me in chat. It's like, what do you think about mangas? And I was like, well, I don't know anything about mangas, honestly. But they're legitimately comics and they're hugely popular. I just don't have anything to say about it. But I don't want to cut these guys off while they're talking about it because they actually have some knowledge on the subject. You know what I mean?
What about the other side of the coin there?
What's that?
Comics. It was a question about both in the industry.
It was about
I would generally go with your boy Zach's call on it that mangas might get. I think we can take Laura Harrier off the screen. Not that I want to, but you know how it is.
Got those big pillowy lips.
Oh my god!
Mangas are, for people like Gutenberg that don't know, are Japanese comic books that are in book form. It's very similar to graphic novels, but not as tall.
No, Gutenberg, we're not talking about manga. It's different. But
it's got the end in it.
I don't, like I said, I would agree with your boy Zach. They might get more and more popular, but they'll never replace the American Western superhero mythos. It just appeals to the Westerners, to the Western mind in a way that it like superhero comics are not successful in Asia, as I understand it, and they probably never will be, just because of the different cultural mindset. Like they might find a limited success, but and mangas will find a growing success or whatever, but I don't think they'll ever reach superhero comic status because they won't.
They get a niche following in other countries. In fact, actually, they get so much of a niche following that they want to do their own versions of those. But one of the major reasons why Joss Whedon wrote the X-Men manga was because they wanted to appeal to the Japanese market.
Yeah, it's sort of flipped over in Asia specifically, where superhero comics are the minority and mangas are the normal books. And they're, we have it the opposite, but mangas are quickly catching on with the younger readers here because it's approachable. They use simplistic language. The art design's simple, and you can crank one out a month if you try. But I think you're right. They're not going to replace superhero comics, but it's an alternative to them. I think if they would use the same art style that they're using for superhero comics and just put them in graphic novel or trade paperback format and create it more price convenient and in the same format size, they would probably sell pretty well.
Well, they already tried that. I mean, if you look at the Noir series, they're smaller, squatter, and made to like go on a shelf next to manga. Marvel's tried it with middling to no success. Like everything they do.
But I don't trust Marvel to do it. They're trying too hard to jump on a trend, as opposed to legitimately trying to make the same type of art. It's cheap copies.
Yeah. Well, let's not forget that DC tried it too with that awful, awful, horrible first trans wedding issue of Batgirl.
Yeah.
No kidding. Wow. Yeah.
I think it's a mistake to try and copy the art style when that's not going to be as successful here. They need to do the more mainstream comic style art, but in the book formatting of a manga. So just make it smaller, basically. So do the same regular thing. Trying to copy it is a little insulting to the readership, because if they want that art style, they would be reading manga, not the regular comics. So do the regular superhero comics, just change the format, make it thicker, smaller, that sort of thing. Appeal to that audience, but with the styles of the regular comic books.
Yeah, and I say it's like well. Again, I think Marvel tried that. They tried making digest versions of superhero comics, didn't they?
Digests were around in the 80s, and they sold really well on newsstands. Because they were $3 and you get 2 or 3 issues in there. And they did have a market, but they just kind of like half-assed tried it. Archie had the most success with it, and they still make those. You can find them at Walmart.
They're in the checkout lanes for what is it? There's a term for it. Impulse buys.
Yeah, and that's how they should be marketing them. They could do that with reprints really easily. Just take 2 or 3 reprint titles like the old Marvel Tales used to do. Put them in digest form. They did it with G.I. Joe for a long time back in the 80s. Like right around issue 30 of G.I. Joe, they started putting out Tales of G.I. Joe in digest form. And they sold really well. They were all over the place. Grocery stores all over. And that would be the way to do it, because you could do that as an introduction to your regular titles with classic tales. They have all these catalogs of characters and books that have been out of print for 30, 40 years. They could easily reprint those and make money off of them in digest form. And all you have to do is make the paper quality better, or, they could do the digest form or manga form and effectively profit back off of those, because those Archie ones are like $7 a piece. And I see people buy them, which I find weird because they're Archie.
Speaking of Archie, I want to beat the shit out of the person who wrote Riverdale.
Well, yeah, Riverdale, yeah. I was going to say, there's nothing wrong with Archie. I like Archie.
Yeah, let's take Archie, this good lighthearted thing, and make it into this little
social justice
dark side of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
I'm like,
side
what
of the cul-de-sac, social justice fucking circle jerk. Yeah, right? Oh my god. No, the thing about for that sort of thing, like I know Marvel's tried all of this. Like I remember seeing all of this. One of the things that Marvel did that I was actually really interested in, but the price point just really wasn't fucking there. They have these massive omnibuses, like or is it omnibuy? Whichever way you say it. It's this massive book. What they did is they took old 50s, 60s superhero comics, took like the entire line of all of that and made it not color, but reprinted it in black and white and put
the essentials.
The essentials. I so wanted that, but then I looked at the price. It's like $70.
Oh, you're looking at the artist editions. Yeah, they redid the essentials were really cool because they were on sort of newsprint with just all black and white with a cardstock cover on them, and they were like $18. And then they jacked up the price to $25. But you would have like 50 issues in there. They were kind of the ghetto version of what you're describing. And those sold really well until they jacked the price up.
Yeah.
And once they raised the price, it effectively killed them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I cannot, if I'm buying a black and white comic, especially a black and white X-Men comic, I'm not going to be spending $50 on it, dude. I'm not doing it. I don't care how many issues you cram into it.
Well, they have like the really nice omnibus editions that are like $150, and they're full color, digitally remastered. They're beautiful, but they're $150. That is out of reach of your average person. Your whales are going to buy that, but not your regular buyers.
Yeah.
Even I don't buy those. I used to blow a shit ton more money on comics than I do now. Mostly because, running your own comic shop, you get awesome deals.
Yeah.
Wait, you're still running one?
No, I've shut it down back in 2007.
Oh, darn.
I know, because I would totally be hooking everyone up these days.
Fuck yeah.
But man, you get a cool free shit when you run your own comic shop.
Yeah. I say I got to know my LCS owner, and so he gives me some of the shop promos for the characters that I tell him to put on pull for me.
Nice.
When Harley Quinn got relaunched, DC gave him a promotional poster that he had hanging up in the front of the store. When I told him, it's like I want everything for Harley Quinn whenever it comes out. One of the times when he got a new promotional poster, he replaced that one and he put it in my pull box for me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
So, moving on with some particular stories instead of random aimlessness. Not that I don't enjoy it.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. I just I didn't realize how some of the articles that I wanted to cover, some of the tabs I wanted to cover, were actually unintentionally related in terms of media shills that I was talking about before. Now, everybody's favorite milkshake girl, Heather Ontos, has made a triumphant return to comics. You know what, Jack? I'm going to task you with explaining who Heather Ontos is up before we read this story. Who is Heather Ontos? Why do we care? Who are the milkshake girls?
Okay, the TLDR version is Heather Ontos is a 5 that thinks she's a 7 that used to edit books for Marvel, and somebody said mean words on the internets to her, so it propelled her to semi-celebrity status in the comic community and comic culture war during the milkshake incident, when her and a bunch of other girls that can't do their jobs went out and had milkshakes in honor of somebody they have no idea who it is, but she died. And they were like, hey, let's go have milkshakes. Yay. And then everybody made fun of her for it because they don't know who the woman really was. And they weren't competent at their jobs. And then she quit and got a job working online gambling or some shit. And now she's back.
Esports, yeah. Well, we said that she would be back because she was looking to step up in the world, and here it is, exclusive. Heather Ontos joins Valiant Comics as editor. Since leaving Marvel in early 2018, yeah, Jack wasn't kidding. She's a 5 who thinks she's a 7.
Yeah, look at that smug-ass grin, too. She's always got that smug smile like, I'm better than you.
The amount of time that she spent, just to sum it up, the amount of time she spent on Twitter aggravating people, talking about, oh, you old white men, I'm the one who read the smarmiest fucking Twitter account that you can imagine. And everybody who was like a comics pro cheered her on, is like, oh, everyone's just hating on her because she's a lady in comics. It's like, no, because she's a mean bitch on Twitter to fans, to people that buy comics, and she's repeatedly trying to insert herself into stories where you're just an associate editor at Marvel. Why do you keep talking like this? Why is nobody telling you to shut your mouth? Like, why are you not caring that you're making Marvel look bad? And I don't really think Marvel, they thought it was making it look bad. Apparently, as we've come to find out, that was the lifestyle brand that they were trying to project, as we've come to find out, right? But she did leave Marvel for esports to go be the social media manager for an esports company.
I like what Ryan Walters said in the chat. She looks like she assists in running a sex cult.
Who did that recently?
That's what the tattoo on her arm's for. It's an
just part of Nixium.
Yeah, that's the rumor. I don't know if it's true. I'm just reporting what I heard. Since leaving Marvel in early 2018, editor Heather Ontos has been more than a little busy. She dove headfirst into her passion for video games and esports as editor-in-chief at Unicorn. Curated the successful #Signal Boost Sunday on Twitter, kept in touch with her comics editorial roots as the freelance editor for several major Image comics, and took a variety of other projects on over the last year. In other words, she tapped every one of her industry contacts for low-paying, contractual, transitory work. She went to try to get a job, and it's like to be an editor-in-chief at an esports company for their social media. Not like anything as grand as one might think that it is. And if you've ever read the comic books that she was an editor for, it would blow your mind, the amount of mistakes and lacks of continuity that would sneak in, and just unbelievable. So
yeah, the errors were ridiculous.
Yeah. This article relates directly back to what I was talking about before. Why would Heather Antos give Comics Beat, which is a total garbage tier website that nobody knows that this thing exists? I only found it via searching on DuckDuckGo for somebody interviewing her about her return to the industry. This is the interview that she grants because it's the softest of softball interviews that you can imagine. And this is what I'm talking about. You seek out the softest people you can, and this is the fakery of the presentation of the industry. The questions that she's asked are like, since leaving Marvel, you've certainly kept busy as editor-in-chief. What else has piqued your interest in esports, and how have you found the experience working in the field? Like, it just losing that doesn't necessarily mean that your two interests don't intertwine, ! Was there anything unique to your experience working in esports content that you feel made you better as a comics editor? Like, it's what are you the most awesome person of the last 10 years or the most awesome person of all time? Tough question, I know. Like,
how did you get to be so awesome?
Yeah. In addition to your work at Unicorn that I've now mentioned 3 times, you've also worked as a freelance editor on a number of notable comics projects, Redlands, Bitterroot, and Injection, that nobody bought nor has heard of. What are some of the lessons you've learned about comics editing during your time at Marvel and into the next steps of your career? Like, this sounds like her own PR agent's interviewing her.
Yeah. It probably is. I mean, you could easily write this yourself and then send it to them if it's a willing participant in this sort of propagandization. I have no doubt that's happened before, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's exactly the kind of puff piece they're doing here.
I mean, look at this. As an editor, this is Heather Antos talking. I truly believe it's my job to handle all the other bullshit that goes on behind the scenes of making comics, so the creator's sole worry is telling the best stories possible and nothing else. The interviewer responds, absolutely, but it's important to take care of yourself too, I think. Like, what the fuck? Is this person your life coach?
Well, lifestyle brand. This is just the friendliest fucking thing ever. And it's like, now, even though you as an editor do have the final say for a for-hire book when working with a company like Marvel, I imagine there's challenges associated with that with great power and whatnot. Could you speak about what some of those challenges are? And it's like,
just probably like Parker in, I'm so tired of hearing that reference.
Oh.
Yeah.
With great power.
It's sort of like the, what is it, Tolkien quote, not all who wander are lost. If I hear one more person fucking say that to me in real life, they might get punched.
But Jack.
Not all who wander are lost.
Yeah,
I didn't even need to say it.
He asked this question. I know it's tough to ask you about your favorite book you've worked on somewhere generally. What has been your favorite experience as an editor thus far in your career? Because, again, always hinting that your career is just starting and you're going to step on to new and greater things, you know.
You're moving up so fast.
Yeah. She talks about Gwenpool and Dr. Aphra. If you told me before we introduced either character, that they would nearly overnight cultivate as hardcore and dedicated a fan base as they did,
Fucking who?
Right,
who actually likes Gwenpool?
You keep publishing her and putting her into series because you're an editor and you get to make those choices.
No,
and she's a female character that was created for you by your office boyfriend.
Yeah, because that's why Gwenpool looks the way she does. It was based off of Heather's appearance at the time.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it used to be something that was really rare and you could say, oh, that's really cool. You must have been a somebody. No, you were just your office boyfriend wanted you to, you know, get some pee-pee touches or whatever.
Now get this, guys.
They give me money on Streamlabs.
You guys, you, Jack, Quiz, Shady, know the kind of person that Heather Antos was on Twitter. Bitter, mean, telling the fans to fuck off. If you don't like what I'm saying about social justice, or if you voted for Trump, don't buy our comics. Literally, you think I'm kidding about these things? No, this is the way she was all day, every day. You would think that she wasn't even working as an editor as much time as she spent on Twitter. talking this shit to fans, seeking out fans to talk this shit, and then pretending as if she was a righteous victim of a bunch of alt-right hate boys. Okay, now get this. He's asking, what was your favorite experience? This is what she says. Getting to directly interact with fans of Gwenpool herself, answering their fan mail, as well as speaking with them when she took over my Twitter account. That was some of the most fun I had. Helping to create a bond between character and fan is one of the best parts of my job.
Yeah, whatever. She sit around and played with her cats. And
like, are you fucking kidding me? You're talking about your relationship to the fans? You of all people. That's like Mark Wade saying, what do you like about yourself, Mr. Wade, the most? Oh, my friendly and non-hostile demeanor.
Well, they all think of themselves as the hero. See, so every time they do have one, it's like battered wife syndrome. Every time they says, somebody gives you some flowers or internet backpats, that's what matters. Everything else is just, those bitter, angry white men or whatever, insert demographic you hate here, the comic skaters, whatever. They always view those people as the opposition. But it's the one time somebody says you did something right, that even if they're totally disingenuous and don't read comic books at all, that's what they lock on to, because that justified every bad thing they've ever done.
Now, they do think of themselves as the hero. There's no question. They are the righteous victim. Yeah. They got 1,000 people saying nice things. One person says something mean, and here's how these alt-right fuckboys are, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, let me show you something real quick, and we want to touch on these articles a little bit more in depth, but I want to show you something that I noticed. So you got The Verge here.
Oh man!
Yeah,
all right, here we go. We're going in with this. First of all, I just want to bring something up here. Okay, why, if Heather Antos was like this,
yeah,
like this, why didn't CO do exactly the same thing to her that they did to Gabby Rivera?
What do you mean, Canner?
Okay, no.
Or Ender series?
No. Let me. I'm just going to try to make this tangent a little short here, but I'm just going to read something directly out of America Chavez for a second here.
Okay.
Dear Gabby, I just want to express all the joy and entertainment that America has brought to me these past many months. Every time I see it online, I get excited and feel so many different emotions fill me up. The art, the writing, the original yet familiar characters, they all bring out so much for me and many others online in real life. I can't help but laugh at every other thing this comic brings to me. Sometimes I'm left beyond belief what I've seen printed. I promise you, as soon as trade comes out for this, it will be my recommendation to the comic book reading club I'm part of. Many of the members are fans of The Room, so I'm sure they will go for it. Hopefully, your comics get the love and ratings they deserve. Sincerely, CO. Now, for those that don't know, /CO/ is 4chan's comic books and cartoons board. That letter was written by an anonymous from the CO board on 4chan and printed in America Chavez.
And then they reveal online that I can't believe they actually published this thing that was like mocking the shit out of them, and then never again were fan letters published in an issue of America Chavez following that.
So why didn't they do that for Deadpool? Or not Deadpool, Gwenpool.
I think they may have tried it and got caught, because one person doing it poorly will screw up the whole thing. True. You got to get somebody that can really pull off the prank.
Yeah. See, what you have here is speaking of 4chan and things online, you have Comicsgate, of course, which is named after Gamergate, and one of the quintessentially central figures of Gamergate was, of course, Zoe Quinn, who had she had this text game called Depression Quest, and
are you giving the TLDR of Gamergate? Ooh.
Yeah, well, just the extremely short one. It revealed a lack of ethics in games journalism, because she had relationships with 5 different guys, and a bunch of them wrote very positive, glowing articles of this shitty little simple text game called Depression Quest for her. And it's like they're promoting their friends, they're promoting like-minded people and people who have right think and share the same social justice values that they do. And this is like video games. What does this got to do with video games? And it's like, yeah, but that's how lost they are. That's how like in deep they are. And here it is again, because we have Zoe Quinn. The Verge reporter fails to disclose a personal relationship with Zoe Quinn in Goddess Mode interview. That's right. Zoe Quinn, game developer, is writing a comic book series called Goddess Mode for the DC imprint Vertigo. And it's awful. So that's a quick introduction to who Zoe Quinn is, or if you will, Chelsea Van Valkenburg is her real name, or when she was a nude model, it was Locke Valentine.
Locke Valentine sounds way more superhero than Zoe Quinn.
It does, and both of them sound way better than Chelsea Van Valkenburg, which is
I don't know. Valkenburg is like a Jewish Vulcan of some kind. That's kind of cool. I would watch that. That could be.
It's cool. Like, why did you change your name to Zoe Quinn when she's like, I'm so proud of my heritage? I don't think you are blue-haired, tattooed weirdo. I don't think you are at all. I think you want to come across as edgy. But let me point something out to you guys, okay?
Valkenburg could have been like Spock's really neebish cousin or something. Oh, that'd have been awesome.
I said over here on Comics Beat, right? It's like DC Roundup. You have to read Goddess Mode, Zoe Quinn's book, right? This is the most glowing review of a shit book that I've ever read. Like the comic book just goes nowhere. I mean, just look at the style of it. It's this punk girl. Yeah, it's sort of cyberpunky and tech oriented. And she's the thing with the secret world and all the monsters and the outfits that actually happened. Oh, and she's shouty. Who the hell are you people? What the hell's going on?
Have you guys read this issue?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is her like Netrunner persona.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever read any William Gibson book, it rips off a lot from those and takes the kind of the main plot from Ready Player One.
Oh God.
It is basic, like Into the Cyber World stuff. It reminds me of a lot of some of the things that went on in Doom 2099, because that was 2099's a cyber world, and so there was lots of like adventures in the cyberverse, because that's kind of like where a lot of the fights happen in the future. Yeah, you hook up and go into the net, like sort of Matrix style. Anyway,
I really liked it when it was Tron Legacy.
And that's what I'm saying. That stuff can be done and done well. It's tropey here. Very tropey, very boring. This is somebody who's read some stuff or seen a few films, meaning Zoe Quinn, has seen a few movies, has a general idea about like cyberverse stuff and cyberpunk things, and then just kind of wrote them. And it reads like something that somebody who has never written a comic book, who does not know how to do beginning, middle, and end between 23 pages, does not know how to plot out a story, but is tapped by DC Vertigo because of who they are, not because of merit and talent. Yeah, tapped, right? So, but I just want to
tap that.
Dive into this cyberpunk magical girl world.
And me.
Okay, right. This is, you have to read Goddess Mode. I'm like, my God, who is the shill who's writing this? Alexander Liu? Oh, wait a minute. That's the same guy who did the glowing review with Heather Ontos. So this guy is so desperate. There he is. Here's Alexander Liu, the managing editor of Comics Beat. He's also a freelance comics editor, meaning he doesn't get much work. He is your go-to fella for creator interviews, conversations about comic book structure, and general DC Comics nerding. Currently geeking out on movies too. Like, dude, you come across like you are so desperate to ingratiate yourself to anybody who already has a name that you come across as, well,
Heather and Zoe will never touch your penis, Alexander.
Right?
What's that word for suspected rapists? Male feminists. That's what it is.
And it's like another example. With the new year, of course, comes new changes. Congratulations on your new position at Valiant! ! Could you tell your readers about your new role and what drew you to the publisher? Because she was no longer employable at whatever bullshit job she just left, and her begged contractual freelance positions dried up, so she had to go somewhere and Marvel wouldn't rehire her. So therefore, and this is, I will do an interview with you as long as it's glowing as fuck. Same thing over here. You have to read Goddess Mode. Which brings us back over to the review that Hannibal Taboo did. This is why it's called Comicsgate. like comparable, adjacent to why it was called Gamergate. There's no ethics in this kind of journalism whatsoever. It's just we are your friends, your shills. We are people that are hoping to get into the industry ourselves. We will say anything and do anything that we need to do.
Excuse me, but ethics are a colonialist construct. And we are just looking at those so-called Stoics and ethicists from the all-white land of Greece and the surrounding area. We don't know what they're actually called, but they're over there somewhere near that place shaped like a boat. It's all a little too, white supremacy for us. So we're going to colonize it and do whatever the hell we want.
So this person here, like The Verge, the article in the Garbage Tier site, The Verge, does have an ongoing friendship with Zoe Quinn, or Chelsea Van Valkenburg, if you will, where they're longtime friends and have a close association. Hudson and Quinn have known each other for a long time. It's all there on their Twitter accounts. That's how public they're willing to be.
Oh, yeah.
Zoe Quinn tweeting at her, tearing up a little at this. Not gonna lie, Laura is an amazing writer, advocate, singer, and all-round person. But you probably already knew that. Heart, heart, heart.
As an all-around person, as opposed to what? A semi-person?
And this was Laura Hudson, who was the interviewer who wrote this piece on Zoe Quinn on Goddess Mode that was just glowing beyond belief. It was her last piece for The Verge. So what did she do on her last piece? She wrote a glowing review for her friend. And what kills me is that over here on Bounding into Comics, they actually get into it at the end. In journalism ethics, it is common practice for journalists to avoid conflicts of interest between themselves and the subject and to disclose those that are unavoidable. On the subject of conflict of interest, the New York Journalism Handbook for Students, Ethics Law and Good Practice, states the following: stuff that nobody from CNN or any Garbage Tier site ever follows ever. Many journalistic institutions, such as NPR and so on, like, it just kills me that they're talking about this. I realize I sound pissed, black-pilled, and jaded about this stuff, but it's like, ethics? Are you fucking kidding me? Do you guys even read Garbage Tier sites? They're paid to do this. They're paid through either compensation, consideration, outright money, or the possibility of getting a job later on with them. This is it. Journalism?
Polly, how do you really feel?
Well, people told me I don't poly rant enough, so I just.
We like your poly rants, don't worry.
But I mean, seriously, I'm not trying to get off comic books, but there's a reason that trust in the media, when polled over and over again for years now, 3-4 years, their approval ratings for truthfully transmitting information is lower than that of the approval ratings for Congress. Congress never has good approval ratings. It's fucking Congress. Of course they don't. Everybody lumps their anger at Congress. And still, the media has lower approval ratings. These websites, they're not even fucking news websites, and they promote themselves as that. The guy who happens to own the fucking computer and has the login code gets to call himself editor in fucking chief and is now suddenly a journalist. These are glorified bloggers and nothing more. And Bounding into Comics, don't get me wrong, I love Bounding into Comics, but guys, it is seriously naive of you to be talking about ethics journalism around these motherfuckers that are glorified bloggers. These are their fucking diaries of their hopes and dreams and wishes to be able to get pee-pee touches from Heather Ontos, a 5 at best. Because this is the life that they live.
And Zoe Quinn.
And Zoe Quinn.
And she did porn. That's way more of a possibility than
that's a nude model. She was not a porn star.
It was porn.
She was a nude model.
Pornographic images is just any sort of images taken of someone who is naked.
Well, okay, on that definition, she was a porn model. All right, yes. All right. But there was nothing shoved up her foxhole. Like it was
glamour model.
There's nothing glamorous about Zoe Quinn.
Well, I'm just saying that's the term.
Yeah, and when I say that she's like a blue-haired tattooed lady, I'm speaking specifically from particular knowledge.
Yes.
Not that I found it anywhere. Like,
I found it and I immediately regretted it.
Yeah.
I found it and I reported it.
Excuse me. It's not. Yeah, and then she went around. That was one of my favorite things about the whole Zoe Quinn thing. Before my nudes got leaked. You
took a photo shoot from fucking Suicide Girls. They didn't get fucking fucking leaked, you dumb cunt.
It was offered to you, or you called them. They gave you a contract. You stood there in front of professional lighting, background, and cameras and took nude photography, and then were paid and signed a release. And then those pictures were put up on their website, which is exactly what they were telling you they were going to do with them. And she calls those leaked photos.
Yeah, right.
And all of her friends, in full-on air quotes, journalism, went around repeating that phrase. Well, Zoe Quinn's nudes got leaked, and then the alt-right fuckboys went around and blah, blah, blah. Now, to put a little bit of a cherry on top of this motherfucker, Jack, thank you for sending this article, by the way, from the Miami Herald. You wonder where I keep getting these phrases from, and can media really be this bad? Comicsgate. Alt-right fanboys go after women in a world of comics. Like, are you fucking serious?
And that's from the Miami Herald. That's not from any like fucking, over-glorified blog. That's an actual newspaper.
So let us see what they think. And it's not even in the opinion section. It's just a story. Okay. So no one knew the alt-right had come to comic books until a group of coworkers went out for milkshake.
Oh, go fuck yourself.
So Jack had informed us who the Milkshake Girls are, and Heather Ontos is Milkshake Girl number 1. And this is them referencing that. This was in July 2017, a few days after Florence Steinberg died. The woman Stan Lee dubbed the Fabulous Flo had been his Gal Friday at Marvel Comics in the early 1960s, back when that term described female administrative assistants. A few days after she passed, a group of Marvel women went out for milkshakes in honor of their foremother. The woman took a selfie, and one of them, an assistant editor named Heather Ontos, posted on Twitter, "It's the Marvel Milkshake Crew," she wrote. It was a anodyne? Why would you use that word here? It was an anodyne caption for an anodyne image. And the response...
We look smart when we use big words, Polly.
Yeah, it's just inappropriate usage of that word. The response was anything but. I think what they mean was anyway. Quote, "Can we just get off of feminism and social justice and actually print stories?" one person tweeted. That's innocuous.
Yeah.
No, that's hate.
That is an innocuous statement.
Unadulterated hate, Polly.
Another dubbed the women, quote, "the creepiest collection of stereotypical SJWs anyone could possibly imagine," using a right-wing acronym for social justice work. Can one of you pull up the milkshake photograph for me, please? Because this person's description was not that far off. Using a right-wing acronym? You mean like you and your left-wing article? I don't even know if this is a left-wing article. What is it with you labeling it as? I'm surprised they didn't call it ultra-right or fascist or something like that. Why don't you throw around some more stuff to prime the audience for what you're about to say? This is really poor bullshit. And again, this is the state of journalism, to remain objective. Yeah, right. Characterizing everything to prime the reader for what you're about to say.
Who's ready for some SJW cat ladies?
There.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's see. There.
Look,
tell me,
grin.
Tell me that doesn't look like a collection of SJW girls from a fucking university feminism club.
The only thing that's missing is blue hair and the mental illness haircut.
Yeah. What I'm getting out of it, well, I think she's got some shaved sides, but she is hanging out with all these people because they make her look better. These are all her duffs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And lest we point out, these are the people that the people we're looking at right now are the ones that spend all day online talking about we need to stand up for POCs. Really? This group of lily white motherfuckers? Really?
Well, except for this token girl they got here.
Yeah.
Well, they got one in on the right side. There you go.
I mean, take a look at this face. Would you really like that look while she's doing that? I mean,
no.
This is her little group of friends that, I mean, and by the way, they said that they went for milkshakes all the time. I remember her saying that there was nothing odd about it, but now they write it up as this was for a great woman in comics, and the alt-right fanboys came in and trounced on a memorial or something.
I'd be willing to bet none of these assholes had ever heard of Flo Steinberg. They were just like, it's a woman, yay!
And that was, but I remember the original tweet and going through the thread, it said, "It's great to see so many women working in comics." Why? Because you know they're competent? I don't.
Right?
I no, seriously. It's like, what does any of this got to do with their merit? And I love this guy's statement. Can we just get off of feminism and social justice and actually print stories? That's an innocuous and solid point. And if you don't like it, move on. Twitter's a sewer. And that is a shitty statement, if you know what I mean. Like that's your idea of shit and hate on Twitter. You don't get around very much, do you? Like,
well, as Johnny Hellcat points out, I think Lord Meowington would have a lot to say about this. And getting his thoughts may involve him peeing on something, but it would be an apt analogy from the great Lord Meowington.
Yes. Lord Meowington giveth and Lord Meowington taketh away.
Just like Gail Simone, she gives food crumbs.
I forgot. Sorry to cut you off, Jack. Chat, I apologize. I am very poor in making sure that I keep chat up, and then I pulled up a bunch of different images, and then chat dropped down, and people have been talking, and I've been reading it. Jim Healis even showed up. Hey, Jim, how's it going? Happy New Year, Jim. Johnny Hellcat was here, and he wasn't here before. So anyway, I apologize. I got to get better at that and making sure chat doesn't get dropped down. You know how I need to do this? Another monitor. That's the problem. I'm working off of too few.
Well, you know what helps with getting other monitors?
Money.
Streamlabs. And my link is right there in the chat. If you would like to give me money. And I switched computers so I can actually see it now.
While we're showing, by all means, if you're interested in supporting Jack and his efforts at Bad Comic Reviews, again, link to Bad Comic Reviews in the description. Feel free to go check it out. And also, if you enjoy our fun time little stream here when Polly isn't slowly developing an aneurysm by yelling, please feel free to like and subscribe and share on Twitter if you are so inclined. We would appreciate it.
And don't forget to support me and my absolutely nothing. Nowhere.
Do you have
support me in my nothing? You know where? Where's that?
At nowhere.
Oh, at nowhere. Okay.
You should get a Streamlabs just to come on our show. You never know. Somebody may throw you $1.
Yeah.
Okay, so on with this shill piece in the Miami Herald here. Another tweet still said, "I would totally bang the girl in the front on toast." To which someone else responded, better have her sign a consent form. She looks like the false rape charge type. Oh no. Oh no.
Man, anonymous Twitter guy, if only you knew.
Right? Like it's just somebody being funny. You don't have to if you find it not funny, fine, but they're not saying anything like exceptionally mean. If anything, the one guy thought the girl. Yeah,
I hear you. I would bang the girl in the front. Okay, it's crass. Have you been onto IG? Because on a whole bunch of guys, male models sites, girls talk about I'd smash. Oh yeah, I'd totally hit that. It's people are going to talk more crudely when one, they're anonymous, and two, it's at a distance, and three, it's just a single statement. They want to get as much across as possible. You're going to end up speaking a little crudely. Yeah, that's crude, but I would bang her is a crass way of saying she's attractive. What's the problem?
And it's not like he was saying the others are exceptionally ugly, just a few of them. And, you know, it's just he was picking a winner. I don't understand what the issue is. Like, somebody said something semi-mean to you. I mean, it's crude, but it's not really mean. He was saying he finds her attractive. Maybe the other ones could be offended. Maybe the girl with problem glasses could be more upset. But
I'm sure she could be if she wanted
Which one? There's 4.
But the article continues, nor was that the worst part of it. I certainly hope that wasn't the worst of it, or this article was a waste of time. There were also rape threats and sexually explicit images. Yeah,
I doubt that.
Right? Citation
I never saw any evidence of any of that.
Antos was doxxed, so she claimed had personal documents released online. Her friends and colleagues were harassed. Yeah, we know the kind of harassment you're talking about. If you don't speak positively of them, it's harassment. If somebody says your story sucks and you can't write to save your life, that counts as harassment. Not like Heather Antos wasn't a troll online herself for how long before she left Marvel?
Oh, she did it every day for a couple years.
Alt-right fuckboys again and again. Where do you think they got the title of this article from? From her own language. And she was stalked. At the height of the furor, she was receiving about 1,000 notifications, positive and negative per hour. Yeah, positive and negative, because everybody at DC, every other comics pro lined up to send her all these positive things, and then people liked and retweeted those tweets, which generated the majority of it. What was it that your boy Zach from Diversity in Comics, he said, like, what was it, 14 negative tweets when everybody had looked through all of it out of thousands?
Well, it's almost like if you do things that people don't like, they build up some sort of resentment against you. And it may not necessarily be over this milkshake thing or even your physical appearance. It's just they didn't like what she was doing. And if you work in a public job like that, you should expect some blowback.
Jesse Green says, one job, Polly. Yeah, I know. I actually have more than one job. I have to monitor the tabs and do a whole bunch of other things. But you're not wrong. I should still not let chat slip by. That's a bad call, because you guys are awesome for showing up, and I want to pay attention to what you're saying.
I don't have a job, so if you want to help me out, there's my Streamlabs.
Notifications are stalking? Question mark.
Yes, Johnny, exactly. That's how delusional some of these people are. I don't know what these people are like in real life, but their online behavior is really, if you message them in any respect and they don't like it, you are a stalker. Yeah, you are an inherently evil person. Yeah.
You know, Jack, I'm perfectly okay with people shilling shit wherever they want to, but for the sake of your own dignity, allow the first one to go off before you put a third one up.
Nope. Dignity is not one of my strong points.
Like, having two on screen at one time is fine, but three, man? Come on now.
That's not my fault. I'm broke. I need money. I want to move.
Give me money.
Comics are expensive.
They are. I spend way too damn much money on them.
You know how much they want for Goddess Mode? I don't even want to talk about it.
I ain't gonna buy it, so that's okay.
I don't even want to talk about how much they want.
I got mine for free, so it's still too much money.
Did you just put up another one?
I don't know.
No, okay, that's the same one. Okay, I looked back and I'm like, Jesus, that motherfucker put up another one.
He's gonna fill it up with nothing but
it's not in the description yet, so I have to. Yeah, I have to whore myself a little bit.
Okay, so Heather Ontos posted a series of distraught tweets that suggested that the harassment was taken. All on July 29th at 9:04 p.m. The internet is an awful, horrible, and disgusting place because everybody doesn't constantly validate my feelings and worldview.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Antos posted a series of distraught tweets that suggested the harassment was taken. Suggested. Do you think that may have been the goal there?
Yeah. I think Leonard Pitts Jr., the author of this article, might be going out of his, I'm assuming, way to be as conciliatory and supportive of Heather Ontos as possible. The internet is an awful, horrible, and disgusting place because no one validates my feelings. 9:23 p.m. How dare I post a picture of my friends on the internet without expecting to be bullied, insulted, harassed, and targeted? Then following morning, after a night of tossing and turning from the threats, 8:03 a.m. Woke up today to a slew of more garbage and tweets and DMs for being a woman in comics who posted a selfie of her friends getting milkshakes, and the harassment just didn't stop for days, then for weeks, then for months. The tweets kept pouring in from people infuriated at the idea that there are women in comics. Yeah, that was it. That was it. It wasn't about your constant hatred of any traditionalism inside of superhero stuff, right? And by traditionalism, I mean not turning every male character into a female, not turning every white character into a POC character, even though all your fucking friends and cohort are white. Like, you know what I mean? Like these hypocrites.
Now, to be fair, from their perspective, living in their secluded bubble worlds, it was actually that would be kind of seen to them as harassment because they've never had pushback before. And I'd be willing to bet this is the first time they've ever had any kind of pushback against them.
Yeah, I mean, these are all young people. About universal validation of everything. No, that's a fair point. Yeah. That's interesting.
I mean, when you're given a ribbon for every little thing, this is the type of shit you can expect when there's any kind of pushback. And this is probably the most they've ever had in their lives combined, all rolled into like a couple days. So it probably was incredibly traumatic for them because everybody's a pussy now.
I love this line so much. The tweets kept coming
like lunchtime in my day.
The tweets kept pouring in from people infuriated at the idea that there are women in comics. Citation needed. They would say, "Oh my God, there's actually a woman in comics. Get the fuck out of here, whore." No, there wasn't a single tweet like that. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Citations are colonialist patriarchy.
They are. It's true.
Already discussed this, probably.
Many of these tweets carry the then new hashtag Comicsgate. As movies go, Comicsgate was loosely organized, but certainly its most visible figure was one Richard C. Not Meyer, a little-known self-published comics writer who acted as a kind of ringmaster using the ironic handle Diversity in Comics. Ontos, he once tweeted, looks like a hooker from some random episode of Starsky and
That's a fair assessment, honestly.
Yeah.
Ouch. Okay.
I've said way worse things to people's faces.
Your boy Zach's got some hot pepper. We all know that. Okay. And that was pretty chilly. Okay.
Yeah, the dude has all the spicy hot takes of my 80-year-old dad. I mean, I've said worse things to people's faces in a non-mean way. Like, just in casual conversation, like, wow, you look like a whore. And not an expensive one. So
like, if we started listing off the things that Comic Pros had said about Richard Meyer, can you imagine how long we'd be? He's a Nazi, he's a white supremacist, he's a misogynist, he's like the list just goes on and on and on. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Your reputation has not been besmirched by this man. Quite the opposite, the way that you sicked all of your pro friends on him as being an alt-writer. Just this author referring to him as part of an alt-right hate mob. Anyway, Ontos finally left Marvel the following March, and Comicsgate was officially, as they say, a thing. An affiliation of alt-right comic fanboys united by their hatred of women, themes of feminism or diversity in comics, and by their willingness to bully or harass. What the fuck world do you live in? Who are you even
talking about?
Yeah, consider it a measure of their effectiveness that a handful of women who were targeted by Comicsgate were approached about participating in this article, but all either ignored the request or refused to be quoted, even anonymously.
I wouldn't even be angry, okay? About
I thought you were going somewhere else with that statement.
I wouldn't even be angry if they could show that these statements that they're saying are true. If they had the constant and unwanted contact with Heather Ontos that would constitute harassment. If they had the sort of thing saying, oh, a woman author, what's she doing out of the kitchen, or anything like that. If any of those things are legitimate,
that is a legitimate question.
Well, if any of these things were legitimate and weren't said by Jack,
and then
I wouldn't be so angry. But the fact that I do not believe for a second, call this my skeptical side, I do not believe any of these things exist. I believe all of that statement talking about the alt-right comic book, blah, 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 that entire just string of buzzwords, all of that is a bald fucking faced lie with absolutely no proof. If there is proof, I will gladly eat my words and renounce it. But guess what? I don't believe that there is any proof, and I don't think that they could provide it.
I believe that there's proof of like really harsh things being said. Oh, like what Max Bemis saying, I'm going to make you eat my ass at gunpoint, for example.
Yeah, right.
Like, okay, people say stupid shit, and I will not eternally hold every comic book pro responsible for what that jackass chose to say in some moment of like misguided heroism or whatever the fuck he was trying to do.
I will hold everything against Max Bemis until he puts that gun in his own mouth.
No, just saying. Like, it's just my point is, it's like you can't identify the entire comic book industry and every comic book's pro by what this one jackass said or this other guy. Yeah, you can come up with isolated examples. I believe that that Heather Ontos will be able to come up with particular examples of, look, this person called me this series of disgusting fucking things, and they were all focused on me being a woman, like you're a whore, you're a slut, like whatever the fuck. I totally believe that she could do that, but rape threats and death threats and you know, I hate you because you're a woman, I do not believe that. Who's gonna think seriously?
Not for a second.
It's seriously like it's because you're a woman. No. It's because of the way you act and how you carry on. That's what's going on. But of course, this article immediately connects it to what? Gamergate. I
would not be surprised if there was just one that said that because they're a woman. Only because I've seen the existence of MGTOWs.
Well,
so anyway, this if the tactics Comicsgate employs sound familiar, that's because they are. In 2014, the video game world was rocked by Gamergate, a campaign against female video game players, designers, and critics. Yeah, it wasn't against.
Citation needed.
How about the five guys, the famous five guys that Zoe Quinn banged, and then fucking used them to promote her fucking shitty little game? Like those guys were as much of a target as Zoe Quinn was.
More
like,
so.
So what the fuck? But anyway, what's the next thing to come up? Kelly Marie Tran. I kid you not. There it is. In 2017, when Kelly Marie Tran, who was born in San Diego to parents from Vietnam, she's a POC, can't insult her, starred in Star Wars The Last Jedi, she was the target of similar online harassment, including someone rewriting her Wikipedia page calling her Ching Chong Wing Tong. That's so bad.
It would have been as bad if they hadn't front-beat her up, because she's not that bad looking.
No, she's not.
No, she really isn't. Like when you see her on the red carpet, yeah, she's not. No, she's not bad looking at all. But in any case, it's like this person just brings in everything. The comic book industry got its worst whiff of this after Mockingbird, a female superhero, was depicted wearing the t-shirt that said, "Ask me about my feminist agenda," because that was the agenda of the writer that couldn't stop from inserting her own politics into a character where it made no fucking sense and it was obvious and transparent what you were doing.
Get woke, go broke.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear about like female Thor hearing the stories of Thor's grandfather talking about unsolicited opinions on Israel and MRA crap. Remember? What was unsolicited opinions on Israel coming from an ancient Norse god? What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. It's just the writer injecting their own politics into the issue.
I also love how they absolutely fell for one of the traps too. They actually used Meninist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yep.
So this article just goes on and on and on. University of Baltimore professor they drag into it, analyzing the Gamergate phenomena, toxic geek masculinity in media, blah, blah, blah. Look how long this is. I'm not going to pain you guys with having to listen to it because you can see the direction it's going.
It's nothing but buzzwords. It's nothing but buzzwords. And this is on a legitimate newspaper. It's not even it's not in the editorial section either.
Well, why would it be? This is about, getting woke.
And here's Donald Trump. I don't even know how they managed to shoehorn Donald Trump in there, but of course they did.
Everything's all about Orange Man bad. We all know.
Yeah. That. As a result of the anger, there was a new Image comic series called Man Eaters, a ferociously funny and fiercely feminist allegory.
Oh God, that comic is awful.
But of course it is. Like Man Eaters is propaganda ideology. It's weird.
Well,
fuck all the propaganda. No. It's just weird. Like
what bothers me most about this is they think they're being funny. Like if you read Man Eaters, a lot of it is supposed to be satirical, but it's not funny. The jokes never land because you have to have a certain amount of edginess in order to be funny. Well, there has to be a little bit of biting in comedy,
Chelsea Kane thinks she is because she views the rest of us, the people that don't buy her bullshit, as these evil people, and we're the people in charge.
Well, speaking of who's in charge, the last two lines of this article tell, first of all, you're not a journalist, you're a cocksucker. And how do I know? The second issue of Maneater features a fake ad that seems to lift a single-digit salute on behalf of every woman ever terrorized by Comicsgate. The ad read as follows. Public warning, this comic may attract girls and women. If you see a girl or woman in your area, remain calm. Girls and women may lash out if provoked. Like,
well, dude, that's unoriginal.
Yeah, you wrote this. And you think you're a journalist from the Miami Herald. This is you taking a hardcore side in a big way, like ferociously feminist allegory, or ferociously funny and fiercely feminist allegory. You even alliterated it, like you scumbag.
Girls may lash out if provoked. Hey, Chelsea, don't speak on other women's behalf. Thank you. I'm sure there are plenty of women that don't appreciate your violent tendencies.
So anyway, you know what, gentlemen? I got a couple phone calls that I got to return. I still haven't unpacked, believe it or not, since coming back. I've kind of unpacked. I took the dirty laundry out of my suit. Anyway, you don't.
Are you unpacking your invisible knapsack?
Yeah, he's checking his privilege.
The point is, I got things that I gotta go do and stuff and things. So I think it's time for comic book pitches. Oh, but Ryan Walters asks, we also have to factor in all the examples of hoax threats where the victim was set up the entire situation with a social justice follower. Oh yeah, poop swastikas and yeah, I know, I hear you.
Oh, Sarah Silverman being unable to identify swastika. Yeah.
Oh, look what I found on the ground, and people telling stories on Twitter, like the fake ass ones where everybody breaks out in applause because they said something virtuous to some Nazi. Like it's just Nazis are in high demand, and there aren't enough to go. There's not even nearly enough to go around, so they have to start inventing them. It's like nobody hates you because you're a woman. They hate you because you're incompetent and an ideologue, and you don't understand your job very well. Because the people that did it,
cunt.
Yeah, and the reason why I know, it's like I don't have to know how to do your job to know that you're not very good at it, because the people before you did a much better job than you. And what is happening now is a direct result of you and people that are like-minded like you being hired, because the quality has dropped dramatically. So we can identify where the problem is without even needing to know how to do your job on a day-to-day basis. Not that you seem like some kind of expert at it. Anyway. Let's move on to comics pitches, gentlemen. And I believe we should let our guest go first. Are you ready, Shady? You want to go first? Do you want to take a minute?
Let me take a minute.
Yeah, sure.
To get my thoughts sorted.
Nah, it's not a problem at all. Jack, I like picking on you.
I knew it. I knew you were going to fucking call on me. You son of a bitch.
You can take a minute, too. We can move on to quiz, or I can go first.
It's fine. I'm ready now.
Are you sure?
We'll do it live. We're doing
it live.
All right, I am actually going to pick Marvel Action Avengers #1. This is from IDW, which you can't see because it's hidden under the banner here, but it's actually the licensed books that they're doing through Marvel. Now, the art is very, what's the word, a nice way of saying crappy, but it's very Kim Possible looking.
Very rough.
Yes, it's very stylized. It reminds me of that cartoon Kim Possible. It's like a pseudo manga kind of look.
Yeah.
I don't particularly care for the art, but it was the best Avengers story I've read in a year, easily. Probably a couple years. Now, the main premise here is actually pretty interesting. AIM has taken over Tony Stark and subjected him to become their Iron Man. So they have some sort of machinations in place, and the Avengers are also trying to deal with other problems, and they don't really know what's going on with Stark, but he does kind of get into it with Black Panther and Black Widow. It's a pretty interesting story, and it's part 1 of the story. Next issue is supposed to have Fin Fan Foom in it, and I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a good read, really well written. The downside is the art is you're either going to like it or you're going to hate it.
Yeah.
But I did like it quite a bit, and I would really recommend checking out the IDW line of Marvel books, because this actually handled things. I didn't hate Captain Marvel in this.
Well, she's got long hair like an actual woman.
Yeah, and she behaved like an interesting character. Oh, Madame Mask is in it too. But it's the cinematic universe version of the characters. So, Captain America's got like the more helmet style with the straps and everything. So it was an interesting take to see the cinematic universe with actual good writing. So it's a great all ages book. Hawkeye and Hulk are not in this issue, but I think are going to be in the next issue. So I would definitely recommend this. I didn't feel cheated for my $4. I've never heard of the guy that wrote it, which is that Manning guy. I don't remember his first name, but the review's on my channel. I would definitely recommend checking this book out if you get a chance. It was a lot of fun and good family entertainment. So if you get a chance, do so.
All right.
Nice. Does the you said they were the cinematic universe characters in a good way or a bad way generally?
In a good way.
Okay.
Because if you're familiar with the movies and your kid saw Avengers and he wanted a comic book, this is the one you would get him, because he's familiar with the films but not the comic characters, so he doesn't have to know all the background and lore. it's a nice simplistic story, but still introduces new characters like Madame Mask was in there. And she hasn't been in the movies, but you're going to recognize the uniform that Cap's wearing. You're going to recognize Tony Stark looking like Robert Downey Jr.,
Right.
things like that. So you'll have a passing familiarity with the team, maybe not the villains, but like AIM was in one of the Iron Man movies, Iron Man 3, right? So I thought it was good in that respect, that if you're somebody coming in off the street that has never read comics and wants to check it out because you saw the movies, it's a good way to introduce you to comic books.
Yeah.
I'd say the way the art reminded me of the animated Hellboy movies.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Quiz, what do you got for us?
All right, I'm actually going to be pitching kind of a weird one. I'll probably pitch the follow-up to this one later on, but oh well, fuck it, I'll pitch them both. This one is written by Dennis O'Neil, pencils by Greg Land, inks by Dick Giordano, colors by Greg Wright, letters by Clem Robbins, and edits by Dooley and Vinciano. My pitch is Legends of the DC Universe, Green Lantern and Green Arrow, Peacemakers, part 3. This is actually collected in a hardback and softback collected edition with, let me pull up the other one. The other one is Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, number 227 through
127.
131. And the collected edition is called The Ring, the Arrow, and the Bat. Essentially what happens in this is it starts here with Green Lantern and Green Arrow, where there's this war-torn Asian country that Oliver Queen is selling arms to, and Hal Jordan is the test pilot for a experimental aircraft that's being sold to one of the combatants in this war. And they all go to this kind of country and figure out exactly what's going on. And the country that's starting this war is doing it in the name of preventing terrorism, but at the same time, they're the ones that are instigating the terrorism. So there's all of this sort of like political intrigue that gets Oliver Queen figuring out that the military force that's instigating this war and buying weapons from him are actually the people that are starting this war. So he ends up helping. He does the heel turn from being the CEO trying to figure out these rebels that are stealing his weapons, what their deal is, to siding with the rebels against a corrupt militaristic government. And gets Hal Jordan to kind of be the straight man in the equation. And then when it continues in Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, it's the remnants of that militaristic government that's trying to hunt down and kill Oliver Queen. All in all, I really enjoyed this book quite a bit. And it's both of those stories, since they are adjacent, are collected in a collected edition. Hands down, one of my favorite Green Arrow stories. And the link that binds them all together is the Green Arrow.
Nice.
And
all right, then.
Yeah, those were good issues. I remember those.
Mm-hmm.
Does flat butt? Okay, so Jack,
hell.
I just it's so flat. Oh my god, look at that. So anyway, Shady, did you want to go last or should I go? What do you?
I just ate.
I'll go. I'm probably going to be kind of a shortish one. I'm not.
I'm going to go very short, so you feel free.
Okay, I'll go. Let me share my screen. Figure it out. Okay, that's what's confusing me. Flat butt.
Yeah, I realize that came out of nowhere, but you know, that's how we roll here.
All right, so I'm showcasing one of the Indiegogo campaigns. I don't want to say Comicsgate, but I know one of the guys who worked on it is very much Comicsgate, I think.
involved in Comicsgate.
Yeah. It's Case File Arkham. It's actually take 2 books. It's more of I think a reprinting, a re-release. I'm not entirely sure, but it's noir. It's based. The books are based off Lovecraft short stories. These particular, respectively, is the first volume is based off Pickman's model, and the second is The Thing on the Doorstep. But it follows the adventures of Hank Flynn, Private Eye, former. Shit, I'm clamming up.
No worries. No worries.
Fought in the Pacific, and this takes place in like 1946, so right after the war.
Nice.
This is not. There we go. It's written by Josh Finney, art by Patrick McAvoy, and editor is Kat Roca. I like the art style. It's very it's all black and white, but it's I don't really have anything to compare it to. I want to say pulp novels.
Nice.
Yeah, it definitely does have a pulp feel. It looks like
it's very just that for me, that what gets me is the eyes. That it's perfect for a horror novel type thing.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
the emotion there. Whoops. And because I'm kind of a womanizer, the sex appeal of the women as well.
it's a draw. It can, yeah.
Hell yeah. No one cares if the fat chick dies. I mean,
such as this lovely lady here. It's very noir. It follows its mystery, and I'm just failing, so I'm gonna have to pass right now.
no, it looks awesome.
Yeah, it does. It's not a bad selection at all. I certainly want to read it. And as soon as you start talking about pulp noir in like 1947, it's like, what? And like, I'm piqued. I'm interested. So.
Well, the other thing that may not draw you, Polly, is that it's also Lovecraft.
Yeah, that's fine. I could do a little Lovecraft. I'm just not a massive fan. Yeah.
There's some attention to like backgrounds. At least I picked up on it. I don't know if that was the intention of the writer. This particular frame is what I wanted to showcase, only because of the importance of various elements in the picture. You have Hank Flynn in his office, but you see with the things he finds important. He's a Catholic, but he's, if you look at the right here. I don't know if you can see my mouse.
Yeah.
You have the rosary in a chain smoker's ashtray. Basically, he's constantly using it. He's he's embattled with himself. He's using it as much as he smokes, which is a lot.
Which is a lot.
And he also values personal accomplishment, which is why he's got his medals and everything framed on the wall. It's just little things like this throughout always get me. to appreciate a novel. And I have read a lot of fiction, seen a lot of movies, so I can easily see where a story's going. This one surprised me several times with the various plot twists. Each book itself is standalone, but there are running themes throughout, such as relationships between characters and recurring characters, as well as some stuff with the main character who's not exactly as he seems. It's very interesting, and I would highly recommend getting both, just because once I put the other one down, I had to pick the next one up. I wanted to know.
That's a good sign.
It's got that very high contrast black and white that you get from independent comics.
Yeah. See, I've read a few of Sin City, and to be honest, this does it better. Yes. I like this a lot better. Yeah. Because Sin City just didn't grab me as much as the movie itself did.
Dare I say it's because this guy's a better artist than Frank Miller?
Shut up. It does have a lot more depth and texture. I mean, Sin City art is definitely, I mean, it's certainly high contrast, but it's also flat on purpose. There's a lot more depth and dimension to that art style, and it's I can definitely see why it appeals. Yeah, appeals to me. Fuck, I want to read it.
Far as where you can get it, I think you can get it on Amazon, but I have direct. Is it okay if I put a couple links in the chat?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, throw them in chat. You have a wrench, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. You don't even need a wrench. People keep telling me that you don't need a wrench to post links. I thought you did, but
it varies sometimes.
I thought you did.
Why is that? Oh, I keep clicking the wrong thing because I'm deluded right now.
That's all right.
They're still selling it on Indiegogo, and there's also the direct website you can get his work from. And now I have a ton of Discord opening up. God help me.
If you want shitty, I can. There you go. It just posted.
Also, there's Discord's screwing
sexy
up,
lady.
Yeah, she is one of the recurring characters.
Oh, nice.
And
dude, that looks awesome.
God damn it, go away.
No, don't go away. Sexy. There we are. Sexy lady.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's very
Glinda.
Glinda.
And she is a great character herself.
That's a very Catholic overtone. The way Mary Magdalene's always drawn in the Middle Ages is
before you say Catholic, look at her skull. Necklace.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, so again, another subtle point of contact there.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was actually a great pitch. I really like that.
Are you sure? Because you're not just kissing my ass, are you?
No, we can tell you.
Dude,
you've listened to me this whole stream. Do I sound like somebody who doesn't say what he thinks?
Well, you mentioned that one to me on Twitter, I think in DMs, and I immediately went to the Indiegogo and was checking it out. I do want to get that. Before you even pitched it here, it's on my radar. It's one of those ones I'm planning on buying.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought you were suckering me because I'm a big fan of detective fiction, noir, the black and white style, all of that stuff. So
no, this actually got me interested in noir. I started looking for other things while I was up north for the holidays.
Right.
There was a nice comic shop, very well stocked, but it had a lot of names that rang some alarms for me.
Gotcha.
So I didn't pick any. I picked something up from someone I'd never heard of, so it wasn't noir, and it didn't quite fit for me wanting to pitch it.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Good art.
Okay, though. So I am last, and I will be pitching. Oh, no. Unfortunately, the cat's already out of the bag here for these guys. Shadow Masters. This is parts 1 through 4. It is available as a collected edition, but by all means, you should try and buy the 4 separate issues because they're running cheap. It's lower than cover price at this point.
Oh, no. Polly, you asked if you pitched this. You hadn't, but you and I had talked about this on Discord a couple.
Is that how it happened? Is that why I remember it?
That's why you remember it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is for the weebs out there. Not really. It's not very weebish, even though it happens in Japan. This is an early Jim Lee cover. For those who don't know, can't tell. It's ninja as fuck, and it takes place like a little bit after World War II, just after the end of World War II. Written and plotted by Carl Potts, the legendary Carl Potts. So atomic bomb goes off, and here comes James Richards, as you see in the bottom right-hand corner there, and the occupation of Japan following the war, and an event happens that ends up controlling the life of James Richards unknowingly. There's a woman dying, and he takes her to the local hospital, and here's a man in the bushes watching, and he sees the act of kindness of this foreigner, this occupier, right? A colonist, if you will. And while they're helping the old lady, out, the Jeep starts to run backwards, unfortunately, and going right for this small boy. And Richards jumps and saves the boy and saves his life. This becomes an important thing because it happens to be the guy who is watching from the bush. That's his son. And he happens to be the mayor of this small town. He's also a secret ninja, a Tengu of Japanese lore, pretends to be a Tengu demon. He is the protector and vigilante and spirit of protection of this town. That's how he operates, and that's how they've done it for centuries there. It makes him think twice about this army officer and these evil occupiers, to the point where they start hanging out. He takes them to local music, teaches them how Zen gardens work. They teach each other English and Japanese. And as he mulls over his dead wife, one day while they're out, they run into, who turned out to be the antagonists of the entire story, a group of fanatical ex-Japanese military who want to reestablish feudal Japan. And he puts on his Tengu mask and fights them. Now, what's important about what happens here is he saves his life. He saves his life when he's about to get, what's that?
Johnny Hellcat. He's Keanu Reeves.
His mask gets knocked off. Everybody discovers who he is. Richards, the antagonist of the story, the leader of the fanatical military guys. Everybody knows who he is now. He's revealed as the mayor of the small town. Richards is about to get his head blown off by this guy. Sergio saves him. This becomes a problem because the U.S. military has outlawed the practicing and the teaching of martial arts in Japan during the occupation, and he makes a decision on what he's going to do. So Sergio is put to a position where, do I kill my new friend to continue to protect the town? What do I do? This is the guy who saved my son's life. He saved my life. The fanaticist now knows who he is. Over the next 4 issues that take place over the next 20 years, these elements play each other out. These short little happenings that happen following during the war of loyalty and who do you help and what are they going to do about these fanatics and their growing underground support. And they all end up battling it out, and it all comes to a big head by issue 4 in the current year. They don't really say what it is, but it came out in like 1997 or 3, I don't know, somewhere in the 90s. I bought it as used editions. It is just a great story. It reads like the comic book that you like, that you want it to read. It's an interesting story. The characters grab you. They have motivation. The art is everything it needs to be to move the story along. I loved it when I read it back in the day, and I've read it a number of times over and over again since then. Highly recommended. Definitely worth your time. And once again, it is Shadowmasters 1 through 4.
Yeah.
Nice.
Looks good.
Well, thank you. Okay, and so there is one thing that I wanted to talk about because we said it in the description, or I wrote it in the description, but we didn't talk about it. Motherfucking Disney stealing that guy's fan film. Motherfuckers, Disney's a bunch of money grubbers. Who knew? Oh, I guess everybody.
It's a corporation.
Yeah, since I wrote it in the description and I called the article "Disney's a bunch of," I forget what I said, money grabbers. Who knew? Something like that. We need to talk about it, but I think the story's out there already, and the story's come to a happy conclusion. If you don't know, there is a YouTube channel called Star Wars Theory by a really big Star Wars fan who put together a fan film called Vader: Shards from the Past, or Shards of the Past. It is 16 minutes of pure awesome. Shady just recently watched it, and I agree with him. His comment, it's better than Last Jedi. It's better than the last 2 films. That's 16 minutes.
Yeah.
I said it was better than all the films, doesn't even the first 3.
Yeah,
and I'm talking about the first 3 produced, not the first 3 prequel crap garbage.
Yeah, if you
That's
so
really
anyway,
Lincoln.
sorry,
Yeah.
Duck Dog's comment caught me. It made me laugh. That's funny. Oh, in any case, the if you haven't seen it, Vader Shards of the Past, it's absolutely worth going and watching. It's a great example of what can be done with a fan film. The guy put out $100,000 plus of his own money, wasn't allowed to crowdfund because of his agreement with Lucasfilm, and was not allowed to monetize it again because of his agreement with Lucasfilm.
Well, that's how fan films work most of the time. As long as you're not crowdfunding, they won't sue you. As long as you're not trying to profit off of it, then they won't sue you.
Yeah. But nonetheless, Disney, the parent company of Lucasfilm, comes in and monetizes it on him. Because as he stated, as Star Wars Theory, the channel and the creator and owner of it stated, it was because of the music that was used during it, part of the Imperial March. Even though he hired a composer to compose an original score for it, it uses elements of the melody from the Imperial March in it. So therefore, on that musical basis, and there was an explosion, fan reaction. Ethan Van Sciver made a video about it. Quartering made a video about it. Jesus, everybody. Some black guy made a video. Everybody, I think some black guy did. Everybody made a video about it. It was wild. And on Twitter, it exploded. Everybody's sending all this. What the hell? How you're stealing this guy's art, et cetera, et cetera.
I made a video about it, and then I deleted it because I don't make videos.
You should have put it. You should have put it up. You would have, But Disney relented. So for the Heather Ontoses of the world, you can dismiss fan reaction and fan revolt as being a bunch of haters, or you can look at it as it is. People voting with their wallets. And the last thing that Disney needs is a whole bunch of bad press around a film series that they haven't done very well with, and it has seemingly nothing but bad press around it, except for the media assets they've paid off to write well for them.
Well, that's why they've dialed back, I think, because what really happened was a subsidiary of Disney, one of their other branches that licenses out the music, made the claim. It wasn't directly Papa Disney, but it was one of their agents.
It was just, and I completely agree, because the guy from Star Wars Theory said the same thing. Because we had an agreement with Lucasfilm, and I got no beef with Lucasfilm. It was Disney that did it. And I think that the subsidiary inside of Disney that goes around and does their copyright claims had no knowledge of nothing. They were just doing the thing that they do, which is striking everything that they can that's their copyrighted material, Yeah,
it was left hand not knowing what right hand's doing. But I think the reaction got Disney's attention because they've already had so much bad press around Star Wars. The last thing they need to do is alienate more of their fan base, especially with the new movie filming.
Right. And that's exactly what I'm saying. And when I say the Heather Ontoses of the world, the Gail Simones, the Renfamouses, not Renfamous, but the professionals, the Mark Wades, is what you're witnessing is not, as the Miami Herald would have you believe, a bunch of alt-right fanboys who just hate women and minorities. That's a bunch of bullshit. There's a gang of fucking minorities and women and transgenders and so on in Comicsgate. It's just, you write back comics, you fill them full of shitty politics. Nobody wants to read them, and your sales reflect that. That's all that's going on. And if you want to write it up as we're a bunch of ists and phobes, go ahead. It's not going to sell you more comics.
No, it won't.
Oh, there's an irritated bear in chat.
It'll drive.
Hey, all right, Bear's here. Holy shit! First time he's been here. Hey, Bear.
It'll drive more people away.
Yeah, that's the last thing they need after Marvel Comics is bleeding money. Star Wars is bleeding money. They lost a ton of money off of Solo.
Okay, so Bear's here. I need to say something. This is what I sound like, you filthy Brit.
Now it's going to sound like we're signing off because Bear showed up, which is totally not the case. We were.
It's totally the case. He's avoiding you, Bear.
We're doing what your country's trying to do and leave. Oh.
You know what? I have nothing for sympathy for Bear right now, because the ghost of Jeremy Corbyn is looming over him and that's horrifying. And all of his fellows. I'm gonna stop making fun of the British for a minute, because Corbyn is no, not Corbyn. Yeah.
Oh my God. How did that vote go anyway? Does anyone know?
She survived it. Theresa May survived it. No confidence today. Yeah, but not by a thick margin, but she did. Yeah.
Well, good luck with that one there.
Yeah, that guy's hanging in the background, man. He's right off to the side of the stage, waiting to take his place, and that, holy shit, the commies are coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think that's what Paul Revere said, but that's okay.
All right. I do have to get out of here because, like I said, I got some laundrifying to start and some other things to get into and some phone calls to return. But before we get going, final thoughts. Mine are the same as they always are. Check out your local comic book shops. There's lots of great stuff to be found there. Remember to buy back issues. If you don't like the new stuff that's coming out or it's too expensive, which it usually is for the quality of what you're getting, remember to check out collected editions, older ones, used ones. There's so many great stories out there and so much stuff that I slept on back in the day. I'm still discovering great stuff from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s that I never read. Like, always new old stuff to be found at a better price than it was originally available for. Quiz, final thoughts.
A good way to pick up those collected editions is to look for your local comic book shops as well as resale shops, half-price books, flea markets, small local conventions, all ways to find the recommendations that we put out, considering most of them are going to be back issues, and a good way of discovering brand new comics that you may not have seen before.
Nice. Shady, final thoughts.
I'm hungry.
That's more honest and less pretentious than any of us have been. Jack, final thought.
I'm an artist. I'm supposed to be.
Right.
I don't really have any final thoughts today.
Okay.
So just you want to give me some money. I have a Patreon. I have a Subscribe Star. I have a Streamlabs. And of course, go subscribe to my channel because I'm a shameless whore. So yeah, that's about all I got.
Well, the link is in the description for Bad Comic Reviews, and you certainly should go check it out. And if you enjoy what you've heard here today, by all means, please feel free to like and subscribe. Those listening in the future, please feel free to comment below. I love reading the comments, and I respond to most, if not all of them. I'm happy to do so. Thank you guys for sticking around after we took a 3-week break while I took a trip elsewhere. Glad you stuck by us, and we love you so much for it. And as a final thought, Bree Larson has a flat butt. Just
very
saying.
flat.
That's very, very flat.
Yeah,
have a good night, everybody.